Alright guys, it's been far too long, but welcome in to the next of my WWE review series and the last one covering shows from 2024 here on Flying Farron's Variety 5. All is timestamped below if you'd like to skip ahead to wherever you prefer, but to preamble a bit, I've got a lot of catching up to do and I apologize for that. YouTube work kinda just took the backseat of what turned out to be a Greyhound bus of other things I got busy with over the winter, starting in October with the release of Silent Hill 2's remake, which I got sucked beyond saving into just playing for 90-some hours over 2 months, no matter how rude that Red Pyramid guy was to me. And then that bled into me starting the new Life is Strange game, double exposure as well through January, on top of other minor personal projects and all the other chores of responsible adulting that are usually due around the start of a new year. But now we're here, and back in gear in 2025, whenever this goes out. I'm going to keep the rest of this intro bit short because this review is going to contain not one, not two, but technically 4 WWE shows. More on that why technically much later. So consider this a 4-in-1 special covering WWE's Bad Blood at the start of October, Crown Jewel at the start of November, Survivor Series at the end of November, and the Saturday night's main event we got in mid-December 2024. All that and stick around till the very end where I'll be running down my top wrestlers for the year of 2024 too. All that out of the way, let's dive into Bad Blood first, getting into it how I originally wrote for it when it was still intended to be a standalone full-length review. Thank you all for tuning in and being patient with me. Strap in for this long series of reviews and enjoy. October 5th, 2024, Atlanta witnessed hell. Hell being how long the multiple intros for this show went. Holy moly, who structured this show? Def Rebel? After we got shots of the superstars competing tonight arriving, a shot with the pulsing sounds and flashing lights used to highlight the Hell in a Cell above the ring, and the cinematic intro video package showing Cody Rhodes sitting in a car outside of the arena with some probably Atlanta-based rapper Metro Boomin. Appointed hosts for the evening, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi were in ring to welcome the audience both in arena and watching the broadcast across the world to the show. As we get into this 5-match B-show card, same as Bash in Berlin and many others before it this year, full disclosure, this show heavily peaked with the first match on, but then my excitement level and interest went downhill fast from there. The couple of Judgment Day related matches in the middle of this show really sucked the life out of me, it feels like. Surprise, surprise. As I go on with this review, keep that in mind. Like this video and want to check out the rest of the review videos I've made for WWE so far, link to this playlist shown on screen will be down in the description below. Thank you for coming and I hope you enjoy. Let's begin this night with a trip to hell. Hell in a Cell. Fly free, fly fair, Flying Farron. Subscribe for more of me if you'd like, and stay tuned for all future WWE reviews and upcoming gaming content. Between their Bash in Berlin strap match to here, not much more developed between these rivals, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, because after 10 months since they first physically crossed paths, how much more could be done? We had an in-ring segment on Raw of Drew McIntyre attacking CM Punk, breaking apart his treasured beaded bracelet and shoving the beads into his mouth before knocking him out with a Claymore kick, but since then it's been all talk of becoming each other's demons and settling the score between them once and for all with a meeting in hell. That brings us to here, Hell in a Cell. At the start, before it picked up, the two men stared face to face for a moment before the bitter enemies started slugging it out all around the ring. Drew threw Punk to the outside where they continued, Punk being the first one to weaponize the cell walls, barging Drew into the chain link. Punk got a table from under the ring, but Drew stopped him with chair shots before the table could be used. While Punk was off balance still from the steel chair attack and slumped over the ring steps, Drew stood on CM Punk's head for a moment before going on to find a toolbox under the ring. Drew swung a wrench from the toolbox at Punk as a weapon, but Punk dodged it to turn things around, using the wrench himself, driving it into the head of McIntyre. Re-entering the ring, Drew neutralized Punk to begin setting up the table Punk grabbed earlier, but Drew realized half the legs were loose and able to be easily pulled off, so Drew decided to just take the table legs and swing them as a weapon at CM Punk, but Punk dodged the attack again and took Drew down with a drop toe hold that sent Drew down throat first onto the upturned edge of the table. Punk then grabbed the table legs that Drew pulled off moments ago, attacking Drew with them and then slamming Drew back first onto the underside of the table, like where the metal support framing for the table is, a couple of times over. Drew rolled outside and Punk followed, where Drew McIntyre caught Punk off guard with a Claymore kick on the floor. Drew kept on the attack from there, lifting Punk over his big Scottish shoulder to throw Punk like a log face first into the cell wall, the camera cutting to CM Punk afterward to show the blood starting to run on his face. Over the next stretch, Drew remained firmly in control, hitting Punk with the steel ring steps, stomping Punk's head on the steps again, shoving a wrench from the toolbox into Punk's already bloodied head, and getting a table set up on the outside of the ring. Back in, though, Punk was able to get Drew with his shining wizard knee in the corner, giving him the opportunity to come back. Punk went outside to grab the toolbox, but Drew in pursuit reached to grab Punk through the ropes to stop him. Punk with a wild swing upward with the toolbox clocked Drew good on the top of the head, and when the camera caught up with him after falling back, Jesus Christ, Drew McIntyre was just gushing viscous blood. It was sickening. CM Punk, smelling Drew's blood in the water, so to speak, though let's be real, people in the next town over, Marietta, could probably smell Drew's blood, kept on the attack, hitting Drew a few more times with the toolbox and catching him with his shining wizard bulldog combo in the corner. Punk got Drew with a go to sleep at this point, but Drew was still conscious enough to roll out of the ring to avoid being pinned. Punk had gone to bring the Scottish Warrior back into the ring, but when both of them were up again, Drew got Punk off guard with another surprise Claymore kick, but Punk kicked out of the pin. Drew went for another Claymore, but Punk dodged, putting Drew into an almost sloppy sharpshooter afterward, stumbling a bit at the start, but eventually got it locked in. Remember that Drew actually tapped out to the sharpshooter in Berlin during their four corners strap match, thus the tap out didn't end the match, but Drew had his balls in his tights tonight, so he held strong, reached for a wrench scattered from the toolbox from earlier, and drove it into CM Punk's back a few times to fight his way out of the submission. The two enemies fought back and forth, making their way to the corner nearest to the table set up outside of the ring earlier. I'm sure you can tell where this is going. Drew took another knee from Punk, which stunned him briefly, but Drew turned it around right after, grabbing Punk and suplexing him from the ring apron, up over the turnbuckles in the corner, and down to the floor, crashing through the table at ringside on their way down. A crazy move. Coming up on the end of this war now, Drew McIntyre went to lift the bottom, heavier half of the steel ring steps up into the ring, but Drew, selling a hurt back, struggled to get him in there, taking a good while to do it. The time Drew took getting the steps into the ring was enough for Punk to recover enough strength to meet Drew in the ring and hit him with a surprising go-to-sleep, but Drew survived and kicked out. Just a bit later, though, with Drew back in control and the steel steps base he struggled to get into the ring now laying flat on the mat, Drew was able to slam Punk hard on the ring steps platform with a white noise made famous by Sheamus. Somehow, CM Punk kicked out. In the next spot, Punk reversed an attempted move from Drew to lock Drew into his Anaconda Vice submission move instead. Like he did when in the sharpshooter, Drew reached to grab a wrench still laying around from the toolbox and tried to use it as a weapon to beat CM Punk into letting go of the submission, but Punk blocked the wrench attack, seeing it coming this time, disarming Drew and hitting him in the head with the wrench instead. The strike with the wrench seemed to reopen the bloody wound in Drew's head, as afterward a fresh flow of blood began streaming down Drew's face again. This still didn't move Drew to throw in the towel yet, so to speak, as the next thing he did in response to CM Punk trying to get him back up was to swing his arm straight up between Punk's legs to deliver a low blow. Forget about throwing in the towel, Drew went and threw the whole towel away when the referee tried handing a towel to Drew to clean the blood off his face. Drew's not ready to come back home for bath time yet, damn it. It would ruin his dramatic moment wherein Drew took a black sack that he pulled out of somewhere. I literally looked away for like 2 seconds and suddenly he had the bag already in his hands, and Drew emptied out his big sack all over Punk's head to reveal the bag to have been full of bracelet beads, ones that resembled CM Punk's treasured bracelet which Drew had torn apart weeks ago after getting back from Berlin. To finish this, Drew went to deliver what would have certainly been CM Punk's final Claymore, had Punk not dodged out of the way to, Jesus Christ, send Drew crashing spine first into a side edge of the steel steps, get Drew to a chiropractor immediately. While Drew was understandably writhing around in pain and clutching at his back, CM Punk took the moment he had to wrap a chain around his knee, spoiling a bit how this is going to end and the fact that it'll be ending soon. Punk back up and approaching Drew, he went and shoved a handful of bracelet beads into Drew's mouth, just as Drew did to him a few weeks ago, as mentioned before. With a mouthful of beads, Drew then took a chain-wrapped knee to the face, courtesy of CM Punk's finisher, and with that, this war was finally over. This was an excellent Hell in a Cell match, many others I've seen online saying it's one of, if not the best Hell in a Cell match in history. I'd agree with the more general one of the best statement, but I'm unsure if I'd call it all-time number one conclusively. For me, I found the level and nature of the blood, brutality, and violence to detract from this match being perfect rather than push it to a perfect score like it might for others. What I mean is that with this level of violence, for the safety of the competitors, they had to focus more on not bleeding to death, utilizing many momentum-breaking stop-start, big move then rest moments rather than maintaining a consistently flowing build-up to its end. That's the best way I can describe why for me this wasn't a perfect match. For Bad Blood, though, it was an excellent opening match, one that this show was built around since it comes on the 27th birthday of the first Hell in a Cell match ever back at Bad Blood 1997. Now that the feud between Drew and Punk seems to be, and hopefully is, over, I'd like to say that if I wanted to revise the rating of their previous strap match at Bash in Berlin, I would lower that to about 4.5 stars to signify that, hey, this Hell in a Cell match is substantially better than the strap match enough to have a higher score of at least 1/4 of a star. But I'm going to take the WWE-inspired stance of saying that in the moment, the referee's decision is final and not open the can of worms that would be revising prior ratings. Just to state for the record though, while this match was a considerable step up from their previous strap match, it's going to have to wind up with the same score of 4 3/4 stars because I didn't enjoy watching this enough for it to reach my criteria of earning a perfect 5-star score. After being shown a number of WWE Hall of Famers in the front row and going up to a private skybox where hosts of the show Bianca, Jade, and Naomi were partying with other notable cameo names in the building, we came to the WWE Women's Championship match for the night, Nia Jax defending against challenger Bayley, a rematch of their SummerSlam meeting. This match started hot and fast, Nia charging around the ring and dominating Bayley early, taking her down with a strong lariat of a clothesline. Nia continued, displaying an adept technical ability, trapping Bayley in a number of submission holds, including first something of an ankle lock, then a transition to a half crab to keep the focus on hurting Bayley's leg, then lastly a classic camel clutch. Bayley then began to come back and turn things around, escaping Nia's clutches to begin getting her own string of offense in on the defending champion, getting her with a leg drop on the ropes, a baseball slide to the outside to knock Nia down, and then a suicide dive to the ringside area that doesn't seem to go quite ideally as Bayley just kind of glances off of her like a Nerf dart shot toward a brick wall. Back inside the ring, Nia powered her way to getting control of the match again, leading toward Nia attempting an annihilator in the corner. However, like at SummerSlam, Bayley rose from the mat to grab Nia on the turnbuckles and try to slam her down with a powerbomb from the corner, but this time Nia reversed it herself, swinging down and around without a care in the world for her normal moveset, channeling her inner cruiserweight to try taking Bayley down with a Hurricane Rana, let's say. Admittedly, it looked disjointed as hell, but the fact this was even attempted earned great props from me. Nia followed up afterward to plant Bayley firmly with her own move, the Bayley to Belly, but Bayley survived and kicked out. Moving on, Bayley reversed control of the match again to go on the offense, Bayley getting Nia with a sunset flip bomb into the turnbuckles that landed just about as awkwardly as Nia's reversal Hurricane Rana moments ago, but still got enough of the job done for Bayley to move on and deliver her signature elbow drop from the top, Nia surviving and powering out. Outside the ring once more, Nia Jax charged at Bayley positioned near the ring steps, but Bayley was able to dodge and send Nia crashing into the steel steps herself instead. Bayley then delivered another elbow drop to Nia on the floor outside afterward, but struggled too much getting the larger Nia back into the ring to capitalize and pin her. Still outside, Nia powered her way back on top, powerbombing Bayley onto the ring steps and then swinging Bayley like a club into the outside barricade. Coming back into the ring, Nia attempted a Samoan drop on Bayley. I say attempted because, again, like prior spots in this match, some awkwardness occurred as it seemed like Bayley may have attempted to reverse the move midway through, but Nia held on and dropped Bayley down to deliver the move anyway, despite Bayley's miscommunicated attempt to reverse. Either way, the match continued. Bayley blocked another Annihilator attempt from Nia, coming out of it and impressively lifting Nia up to drop her with a Samoan drop of her own, but Nia kicked out to continue. Rising back up to their knees and immediately throwing hands at each other afterward, referee Jessica Carr, caught between them still down on the mat from making her pinfall count, soon got squashed when Nia Jax collapsed down onto her. Back up, Bayley stunned Nia with a stunner and got her with her Rose Plant finisher, but referee Jessica was still down and unable to count. It's Tiffy time! Tiffany Stratton came in at this point with her Money in the Bank briefcase ever at hand and attacked Bayley off the bat, but just as it started to seem like she was thinking about cashing her Money in the Bank into the resurrecting Jessica Carr, Nia Jax, in appropriately colored attire, resurrected an old tradition of Kane, who debuted at the 1997 Bad Blood 27 years ago to the day as well, by sitting upright dramatically, staring a hole straight through Tiffy. When Nia got up and confronted Tiffany about looking as if she was considering cashing in on her, Bayley barged in behind them and rolled Nia up for a quick pinfall, but Nia got out of it. Bayley scaled the turnbuckles to stay on the attack, but Tiffany Stratton from the outside threw her Money in the Bank briefcase up at Bayley on the top rope. Bayley would catch it, but it served well as a distraction to take Bayley's eyes off the ball. Said ball being the wrecking ball of Nia Jax, who came in and helped Bayley down off the top rope with a Super Samoan drop from the turnbuckles and then an Annihilator to secure the win. This match was a great one by two exceptional professionals as they are by this day, but is a fair step down from their original SummerSlam match. As messy as some of the spots were here, which I've seen criticized by others on this platform, I, on the other hand, feel like props should instead be given for Nia trying moves out of her comfort zone and having some fun with this one. That's how I saw this match, being more laid back and fun than hot and dramatic, as their SummerSlam match was when Bayley was the veteran champion and Nia the threatening, intimidating challenger. Bayley as well, by the merit of her work alone, defaults at about the 4-star range, so 4 stars this gets in the end. Alright, time for my energy for this show to drop off a cliff as we reach this middle chunk of Judgment Day related matches, starting first with Damian Priest versus Finn Balor in a straight up singles bout with nothing on the line apart from settling the grudge between these two. On paper, this should have been a culmination of a bitter blood feud, a bad blood feud, if you will, on the level of Punk vs. Drew, which we saw earlier, but in actuality, all we really got here was a fairly pedestrian, weekly episode of Raw quality of match. Getting into it, it started with Damian overpowering Finn early, getting quick with it on the beating him down. Damian tossed Finn with a flapjack move and continued on the attack from there until Finn got his first real moment on top, getting Damian with a sling blade on the outside. From here things carried on a bit more evenly back and forth for quite a large stretch of this match with nothing really noteworthy to write about until Damian began going on a tear again, really slugging hard on Finn and getting him with his broken arrow to end the flurry. Finn tried coming back with another sling blade, but Damian blocked his next move, his shotgun drop kick into the corner with a straight martial arts style kick to the face. Damian then took Finn down again with a strong lariat of a clothesline. More signature moves are hit like Finn Balor's Pele kick and Damian's Razor's Edge until the fight went outside again where Damian pounced Finn to send him flying over the announce table. Bringing the fight back from around the announce table to the apron of the ring, Damian got Finn with another Razor's Edge, this time from the ringside floor to the edge of the ring apron. After that, Judgment Day did what Judgment Day does, and gasp, how shocking, Judgment Day interfered! Ganging up on an enemy of one of their members, the rest of Judgment Day's members swarmed on Damian to get him down and lay him out for a coup de grace from Finn. Seeing how Damian survived it, Finn put a plan together and gave the direct order to JD McDonough to keep the referee distracted to give Finn an opening to hit Damian with a chair shot, but when Finn would try to carry that plan out and swung a chair to attack Damian with, Damian countered by kicking the chair back into Finn's face. Damian then cleared JD McDonough out of the ring, and I mean this dude went flying out of the ring from Damian launching him over the ropes before crashing and burning on the floor outside, which always brings a smile to my face. That frickin' cockroach JD McDonough wouldn't stay away for long though, as he came back to distract Damian's attention away from Finn once more, allowing Finn to try bringing it into this match, first connecting with one coup de grace to the back of the head of a standing Damian, and then a second coup de grace to Damian's back as he was about to rise back up again. Finn climbed the turnbuckles once more to deliver a third and final coup de grace to Damian, but surprisingly, especially since I was predicting a Finn win to continue this feud along further, and this would have been a good way to accomplish that, Damian seemed to have shaken off the first two of Finn's top rope double stomps because he still had enough strength to rise up once more and catch Finn by the throat as he came down for the third one, Damian definitively slamming Finn with his South of Heaven chokeslam to secure the win. So, what I said earlier about this being a very raw quality match, this ending was actually a pretty cool one with all of Finn's stomps just to be stopped and thwarted on the third one, so I'll bump it up to raw main event quality. It being said that the ending was pretty cool though, do I think it was the right ending? Nah. I don't have any love to lose for the Judgment Day, but Finn should have picked up this win, I feel like, at least if WWE wanted Judgment Day to move forward with any amount of credibility. For Finn Balor and the rest of Judgment Day trying to take down one-man Damian Priest, this match was make or break for Judgment Day, and I believe they've been broken on this night. I would be surprised to see them come back from this loss. For the match, a generous 3.5 stars is what I'm giving it. Cool, but no better than just a good match. Ahead of the next match, a brief break from the action for a segment in ring saw Triple H unveiling a new, ugly, gaudy championship belt that'll be fought for at Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia on November 2nd, one each for men and women that'll be fought for SmackDown vs. Raw style with both world champions of each show going at it. During Raw's World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther interrupted this unveiling to run down his number one contender on Raw, Sami Zayn, and Goldberg in the crowd, teasing something of a dream match that I had no idea I actually wanted to see before Sami showed up to fight Gunther off on behalf of Goldberg. Goldberg afterward, by the way, now in ring with Triple H, got his hand raised for some reason despite not doing anything. More legends in attendance were showing off in the crowd before cameras went up once more to the Bad Blood Host's party box above the arena where Kathy Kelly interviewed rapper Metro Boomin. Chelsea Green, who recently lost a dumpster match to Michin on SmackDown, joined the scene but got shooed away because she stank. Piper Niven stayed to party with Metro Boomin though. Anyway, back to the next match. Liv and Dom got a super cringy gangster lowrider entrance video package which led into their actual entrance into the arena, lowrider and all. Afterward, Rhea Ripley entered, and with this match's shark cage stipulation where Dom Mysterio is going to be locked up and hung from the ceiling in a small shark cage, Rhea took the time on microphone to taunt Dom about a supposed fear of heights. The bell rung and the match started hot with Rhea quick on the attack, but Liv kept even footing by shoving Rhea into the steel steps at ringside. Rhea largely kept in control of things on the outside though, getting Liv with slams against the ring apron and crowd barricade. Coming back in, Liv caught Rhea through the ropes with a dragon screw to twist Rhea's knee, and with that, Liv got her way of keeping Rhea on the defensive for a bit, continuing with more attacks to the knee. We saw Liv on Rhea with a half Boston Crab until Rhea eventually fought her way out of it. Rhea started to come back but was stopped by Liv again, Liv tripping Rhea up at the ring ropes and attacking Rhea's knee more over the ring apron and ring post. Liv kept on the attack on the outside, including a big sunset flip bomb coming off the ring apron to send Rhea crashing into the crowd barricade. Back in the ring, Liv stayed on Rhea, nailing her with a codebreaker off the middle rope. Liv went on to attempt her Oblivion finisher after, but Rhea with surprising agility flipped through it to land on her feet, even remembering to sell her hurt knee a bit on the landing. Rhea stunned Liv with a knee to the face, with her good knee assumingly, and grabbed Liv for a riptide, but Liv managed to slip out of it and reverse to slam Rhea instead with the new crucifix pin kind of move she debuted on the last show at Bash in Berlin, now known as the Home Wrecker thanks to commentary, with Rhea kicking out of it to keep this match going. Back up, Liv slapped Rhea across the face and commenced the Three Amigos suplexes, but Rhea powered out of the third of the trio of suplexes and countered, slamming Liv with somewhat of a modified Razor's Edge kind of move. In the break afterward with the women down, Dom, who's been a quiet non-factor so far, managed to get the shark cage door open, still hung over the aisleway, at least a story over the floor, so he still just sat in there, unable to do anything to get involved. Back in the ring, meanwhile, Rhea hit a top rope frog splash on Liv and then locked her in her prism trap submission, but Liv was able to reach the ropes to force a break, pulling herself out of the ring to save her championship. Liv went up the aisleway toward Dom's shark cage, wanting to catch a breather, only to continue catching Rhea's hands instead as she pursued Liv, getting slammed with a riptide on the outside floor right below the hanging shark cage. Dom leaned out of the open shark cage door in concern for Liv on the floor below, and oh my god, this terrified me not knowing what was coming next, but all according to plan, Dom lost his balance and fell headfirst out of the shark cage, only for a chain that happened to be in the cage and happened to become wrapped around Dom's leg to stop Dom's fall. Dom now helplessly hanging upside down from the shark cage by the chain. Rhea saw the golden opportunity before her, returned to the ring to break the referee's ring out count and make her case for permission to have her way with Dom along the way, to which the referee had no hesitation in letting Rhea do what she had to do. Rhea, on her way back out, grabbed a kendo stick from under the ring before swinging on Dom as if he were a live, unwilling piñata. Just as this match was starting to get good, however, suddenly and without any explanation or foreshadowing at all, Raquel Rodriguez came out of nowhere in a return and jumped Rhea Ripley from behind while she was attacking Dom. The referee may not have been meant to see it so blatantly, but he eventually did regardless, forcing this match to end in disqualification for Liv Morgan. Back in the ring, meanwhile, Raquel slammed Rhea with her Tejana bomb and pulled the still groggy body of Liv Morgan over Rhea for a pinfall cover that by this point, post-disqualification, was still done purely to make a statement, and whether this was supposed to be the outcome with the referee unwittingly witnessing and disqualifying Liv Morgan or not, the point is that this crap is still how this match ended. Now, if I may borrow a bit from my rant on Liv Morgan in my SummerSlam review, oh no, Triple H, baby, what is you doing with Raquel Rodriguez's character? To clarify, I'm not at all upset by the possibly botched nature of this finish. I'm upset that Raquel was made to get involved in this at all if she's just going to blindly realign with Liv Morgan again, devoid of any character nuance or reasoning whatsoever, in a heel turn even more bafflingly night and day than Liv Morgan's was when she abandoned all morals and joined the Judgment Day. Now, I'll be real with you if it's not already clear. There's little that annoys me more in wrestling storytelling than nonsensical, unexplained, and or poorly justified heel turns of babyfaces who I like. That, and when tag team partners or allies in general miss an attack on an opponent and hits their partner instead, only for a big deal to be made about, oh, was it an accident or not? Like, is it too much to ask for wrestling characters to consistently be portrayed with the intelligence, maturity, and rationality that comes with being a human being, rather than being cartoonishly and insultingly one-dimensional and clueless? To recap, Raquel Rodriguez had been away the last good 8 months or so dealing with a painful skin condition known as mast cell activation syndrome, and couldn't have been more of a white meat good guy babyface then, where she was partners and even previous women's tag team champions with Liv Morgan last year when Liv was over as a daredevilish yet honorable babyface too, the straight woman powerhouse to Liv's excitable and chaotic anti-heroism. Her entire time away, however, not a single thing was mentioned about her, especially during Liv Morgan's complete character change to rid away with any morals and dignity she had, all in the name of manipulating everyone around her to accomplish her revenge goal of stealing Rhea Ripley's championship and Judgment Day family away from her, and I'm just supposed to believe without any reason, justification, or communication that Raquel Rodriguez would just so happen to throw her morals and dignity away too, just as much? I don't buy crap like that, and such a shame for Raquel, who's just coming back from battling a seriously scary disease that the very moment she steps foot back into WWE to return, her character is just instantly dead in the water to me. This match was on its way to being a great one too, thanks to the work of Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, but the awful, booked with non-existent forethought into it really let all the air out of this. 3 1/4 star falls just about in the middle between this match's alright in-ring highs and the extreme low of its nosedive plane crash finish. Bad Blood main event time. Roman Reigns in his first match back since leaving after WrestleMania and returning at SummerSlam to team with rival turned one-off partner Cody Rhodes and take on the greater evil, Roman's own family, the Bad Bloodline. Solo entered first with his goon squad, and while they were in ring awaiting their opponents, out of nowhere a brass band suddenly appeared surrounding the ring. Apparently this band from some school went viral sometime recently playing a brass band version of Cody Rhodes' theme song, so WWE decided to throw them a bone and bring them on the show for Bad Blood to give Cody an actual live band entrance, Cody entering for the match while Solo Sikoa in the ring gave weird, annoyed looks to the brass band. After Cody's drawn-out 10-minute live band entrance, Roman Reigns, deciding not to be upstaged, had another percussion-focused band play him in too, perhaps a band from the college where Roman Reigns played football at pre-WWE, the one where Cody and Roman had their dramatic and cinematic pre-Bad Blood meeting as they established their tentative alliance. By the time everyone has had their entrances here, this main event finally began like half an hour later, where Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu started against each other. Early on, Jacob Fatu was in full no-sell mode, all of Cody's opening attacks being brushed off by Jacob until Roman and Solo entered the ring to back up their respective partners for a 2-on-2 standoff. Roman and Solo tagged in to continue this match, Solo largely but not entirely on the defensive against Roman. Roman sent Solo out of the ring with a clothesline over the ropes, and following, a tense standoff is had between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, the original tribal chief against the Samoan werewolf. This was merely a tease for us and a distraction for Roman though, as Solo found the opening he needed to attack Roman from behind and gain control of this match. Solo and Jacob tagged in and out to keep beating Roman down, punishing him. Eventually, Roman was able to evade Jacob and eject him from the ring to tag out to Cody. Cody successful at first and going on a flurry fighting back against Jacob. Cody dropped Jacob with a Cody cutter, but not long after, Jacob stopped Cody in his tracks with a big Samoan drop. Cody largely on the defensive afterward against the unrelenting Bloodline, the animalistic Jacob even biting Cody's hand at one point while he was reaching out for a tag from Roman. After more time of Bloodline throwing everything they could at Cody to defeat him and keep him from tagging out to Roman, Cody finally got an opening he needed when he was able to get his knees up to block a swanton from Jacob Fatu. After that, the final tag out to Roman was made. Solo tagged in again now too. Roman went on a tear of offense on the new leader of the new Bloodline. Roman soon went to deliver a Superman punch to Solo, but Solo caught Roman and went to counter with a Samoan spike. Roman blocked it and took Solo down with a crucifix pin, a surprisingly technical move from the big dog. Solo kicked out, so Roman got in position to deliver a spear, but Jacob Fatu from the outside grabbed Roman to stop him. From here, the new Bloodline began a comeback. Solo got Roman with a super kick, Jacob jumped on him with a moonsault, and Solo with a splash from the top, but Cody Rhodes came back in to break up the pin and stop them. Cody went outside to begin clearing off the announce table, and when Jacob Fatu charged around the ring to stop what Cody was doing, Cody sidestepped to send Jacob crashing alone through the barricade into the timekeeper's corner. Almost immediately though, in another no-sell moment, the beast Jacob rose up from the rubble relatively unfazed and continued on his pursuit of Cody, so Cody took the initiative and hit Jacob with a crossroads on the floor outside. That, however, still didn't put Jacob down, as soon afterward he was already coming back up and stumbling to his feet, but what did do the trick was Cody coming down on him with a flying splash from the top of the ring post through the announce table outside. A kamikaze dive as the impact of the splash took Cody out of the rest of the match too. Back in the ring to Roman and Solo Sikoa, Roman came out on top of a brawl between them and ready to deliver a spear again, but at this point Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa made their appearance to distract Roman's attention. Solo, with the opening his underlings created, hit Roman with a spear instead, but Roman kicked out. Solo talked trash to Roman afterward as he prepared to make his next move to finish Roman, just as another man disguised under a hood and mask subtly showed up in the background beside Tama and Tonga on the outside. Really, the subtleness of this moment, compared to how mystery arrivals usually are shown much more directly and conspicuously instead, was greatly done here and worth big props itself. The mystery man tonight was a man back from the dead, a man back from Solo literally killing him off the week after WrestleMania, Big Jim Uso, and Jimmy Uso got straight to giving super kicks to Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. Solo in the ring became distracted by this unexpected action on the outside, and eventually when he turned back around to face his opponent again, Roman hit Solo with the spear that ended this match. This was a perfectly fine main event, but wasn't anything special either. Everything with Jacob Fatu's continued development as a newcomer to WWE was cool, and Jimmy Uso's return was fun and done well, but if you've seen any other Bloodline-related main event, you've seen this one. The by and large formulaic nature of these Bloodline matches has been repetitive for a while, but this was still good. Cody sacrificing himself to splash Jacob Fatu through the announce table, and Jimmy Uso's return in general both brought back some excitement for me that this show desperately needed by this point, after the past hour or so of Judgment Day's nonsense stinking up the joint, so I ended the night with an overall positive vibe. 3.5 stars this main event gets, and afterward, Jimmy Uso and Roman Reigns had an emotional reunion, Roman Reigns no longer alone, finally with a family member on his side again. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes could be seen just awkwardly off to the side, looking like, "What about me, guys? I did good too, right?" All the while, Roman Reigns couldn't get his eyes off of Cody's WWE Championship. When Roman and Jimmy did go to leave, though, Bad Bloodline went and jumped Cody in the ring, who was lingering in there still. In the aisleway, meanwhile, Roman Reigns didn't look too concerned about coming back to give Cody a hand, at least until Big Jim Uso talked Roman into honoring their alliance and going to help Cody. Roman and Jimmy together did charge back into the ring to fight the Bad Bloodline off away from Cody, Jimmy persuading Roman in particular by reminding Roman that he's the tribal chief and shouldn't let a pretender like Solo Sikoa have his way. After working together to send the Bad Bloodline away, though, Roman Reigns grabbed hold of the WWE Championship and held it in his hands for a little bit before eventually, begrudgingly, handing it over to its rightful holder, Cody Rhodes. Finally, just as it seemed over, one last man made an appearance. The final boss, The Rock, came out, and from the top of the entrance stage, The Rock looked down at those still in the ring, Roman, Cody, and Big Jimmy, and counted to 3 on his fingers at them before Bad Blood went off air, The Rock not saying a word to explain his appearance and still hasn't appeared again yet at time of writing, nearly 2 months after the fact. And that was Bad Blood 2024, an overall decent show that peaked heavily early on with the Hell in a Cell as its opening match, leading to the big Judgment Day-shaped dip in the middle. Man, I still feel bad that this is how they brought Raquel Rodriguez back from her time away dealing with her medical issues. Moving on though, WWE traveled to Saudi Arabia again for Crown Jewel on November 2nd, where top champion on SmackDown Cody Rhodes was made to face top champion on Raw Gunther, and the same for their female counterparts Nia Jax and Liv Morgan respectively to crown first ever Crown Jewel champions. The ugly, gaudy, unwieldy title belts they made for the occasion eventually were confirmed to stay in Saudi Arabia, while the winners of the championships would return home with slightly less ugly, gaudy, and unwieldy rings on their fingers instead. So let's get straight into this show. We all know how these Saudi Arabia events go by now. Come visit the kingdom, Saudi Arabian sports washing propaganda, yada yada. Pay no attention to the immense government corruption, the immense violations of women's rights, and general air of Middle Eastern war and conflict as you enjoy your stay. Let's make this quick and get straight to the first match, opening with the next chapter in the Bloodline War. So here we go. 1 month on from Bad Blood, Roman Reigns, now reunited with both Usos, was set to take on the Bad Bloodline once more. As Roman and Jimmy entered together, some random kid in the front row damn near fell over the barricade trying to touch Big Jim. Afterward, Jey Uso, as his own man, made his own individual entrance, coming in through the crowd as he does. He may be reunited with Roman for this night, but he's made it clear he's not taking orders from Roman anymore either, as he was made to do in the Bloodline before. The match, when it did begin, started incredibly slow. Lots of stalling, stalemates, and stare-downs. Teamwork from the Usos had them on top for a moment, overwhelming the Bad Bloodline, forcing Solo to regroup with Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu on the outside and give them orders. In the ring, though, Roman Reigns reached his hand in to demand being tagged in while Jey Uso was on a roll, but Jey refused, tagging Jimmy Uso back in instead to show defiance and make his point that he's not taking orders from Roman anymore. They bickered about it a bit, Jimmy accepting the tag in but still trying to play peacekeeper all the while, enforcing that they all need to get on the same page to win. As it happened, this brief miscommunication predictably led to Bad Bloodline getting control over Jimmy Uso, ganging up on him for a while to punish the OG Bloodline member. Jimmy getting away for long enough to tag Jey Uso back in, though. Jey used his tag-in momentum to take control of the match over Tama Tonga for a moment, but Tama got away from Jey with a rake of the eyes and tagged Jacob Fatu back in, who took over, overpowering Jey Uso to put him back on the defense. Solo tagged in with Jey downed, yeeting all over Saudi Arabia, switching in and out with Jacob with frequent tags to keep Jey Uso overpowered and overwhelmed. Eventually, Bad Bloodline made the mistake of tagging Tama Tonga back in, the one Bloodline member Jey Uso could overpower. Jey coming back with a series of offense to build up momentum and finally tag Roman Reigns into the match. Solo at the same time got tagged in by Tama, so Roman and Solo met in the middle of the ring throwing hands, Roman getting the upper hand over Solo at first. Roman leapt for a Superman punch, but Solo caught him on his shoulders. Before Solo could drop him with a Samoan drop, though, Roman slipped back down and went for the Superman punch again, connecting with it on the second try. Roman went to spear Solo, but Solo blocked it and hit Roman with his Samoan spike instead. Breaking the illusion of this match, Roman just laid there getting pinned, waiting for Jimmy Uso to jump in and break things up, but Big Jimmy was late coming and fell short on his leap, forcing the referee to just stop his count despite there neither being a kick out from Roman nor an actual physical breakup from Jimmy, so the whole thing came off looking botched and ugly. The match broke down after this point, beginning a series of one competitor taking out another, which included Jimmy throwing Tama Tonga out of the ring, Jacob Fatu DDTing Jimmy, Jey fighting Jacob out of the ring and trying to suicide dive out onto him, but Jacob Fatu caught Jey Uso and headbutted him down. In the ring, Roman took Solo down and got in position to deliver a spear, but Tama Tonga came up on the apron behind him to interfere. Roman, however, saw him coming and intercepted the interference attempt, grabbing Tama and tossing him over the ropes, incidentally straight into the referee who was just standing there. With the referee briefly out of commission, Jacob entered the ring to attack Roman, getting him down and moonsaulting onto him before diving out of the ring into the Usos outside. Solo, meanwhile, capitalized on the down Roman in-ring, hitting him with 2 consecutive Samoan spikes to pin Roman and win, as the referee had came back to by now. And then the match was over, just like that. This kind of was just a big meh of a match, largely low risk and phoned in. Not that I blame the competitors performing for Saudi Arabia. The ending came abruptly without feeling like it went through a finale phase to reach it. The botched pin with Roman's non-kickout was ugly, and it's clear this match only happened to move us along to the real Bloodline match we're gonna get at Survivor Series WarGames. With a C for effort, this match only gets 3 stars. Speaking of moving along to Survivor Series, after the match with Bad Bloodline continuing to beat down on Roman and the Usos, Sami Zayn, who's big in Saudi Arabia with his Syrian heritage, came in to help Roman and the Usos fight the Bad Bloodline away after he spent the prior couple of weeks cautioning Jey Uso against going back to Roman. The reunited OG Bloodline got Solo alone and surrounded in the ring, but when Roman and Sami both charged at Solo at the same time, Solo dodged and escaped while Roman's face collided with Sami's boot in the middle of the ring. Of course this was an accident, but of course wrestling storytelling's got a wrestling storytelling, so they played up the tension and distrust, Roman holding his jaw in pain and anger with Sami's missed kick, and Jimmy accosting Sami for kicking Roman by mistake while Jey held Jimmy back in defense of Sami. This drama will carry on through the month and into Survivor Series, but for now we're moving on. Next on was a 4-team 4-way for the Women's Tag Team Championship, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defending against Damage Control's Io Sky and Kairi Sane, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and newcomers from NXT, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson. Despite this being a 4-way, the match followed WWE's tag rules of only having 2 legal competitors in the ring at a time, which is a nitpick that I hate. Having 2 teams entirely standing by doing nothing when they don't have the opportunity to tag in off of a legal competitor in the ring, rather than just having it as a true 4-way, all teams legal at once. Anyway, Bianca Belair and Io Sky started this, 2 world-class athletes one-upping each other to start this hot. Spoiling it was Chelsea Green tagging in off the back of Io, and Bianca began laying it into Chelsea. I suppose swapping the athletic performance between Bianca and Io for Chelsea Green taking a beating is a fair enough trade, since she's so good at taking it in the most complimentary way. Bianca tagged in partner Jade and they double-teamed on Chelsea, throwing her into her partner Piper in the corner. Jade carried Chelsea across the ring readying for another move, but Lash Legend tagged in off of Jade, so Jade told her, "You want her? You can have her," and threw Chelsea at Lash, but Lash caught Chelsea before slamming her down, Lash stepping up to Jade afterward for an enticing stare down between the big black woman powerhouses. Moving on though, the women from NXT's larger Meta 4 team continued the double teaming on Chelsea. Before long, Kairi Sane tagged in off of Chelsea and began taking it to Jakara Jackson, but Chelsea Green still wasn't out of harm's way yet as Kairi arm dragged both Chelsea and Jakara, Kairi going on to launch at Jakara with a spear afterward. Things stayed with damage control as Io Sky tagged back in to take over, keeping Jakara down, but eventually it turned around on them when Piper got a tag in off of Jakara, Piper coming in and neutralizing Io with a crossbody and a powerbomb. The match broke down after this with the competitors one by one charging in to take another out with a big move, leading to another moment of Jade Cargill and Lash Legend coming together for a 1v1 stalemate of a standoff. Breaking it up was Piper Niven once more, taking flight with a large crossbody off the top, taking down both Lash and Jade. Chelsea Green, Piper's partner, who may now be one of the legal tagged-in competitors, though I personally didn't catch her tagging in, tried to capitalize on the chaos by pinning either Lash or Jade, but everyone in the ring available for Chelsea to pin scattered and rolled out. With a mass of women outside of the ring now, Chelsea had a golden opportunity to launch herself out onto all of them with a dive as the stereotypical wrestling thing would be to do, but Chelsea, an opportunistic yet scaredy cat type of heel, couldn't find the courage to moonsault off the top rope onto all the women outside, so she took steps down the turnbuckles one by one as more and more of the women outside moved out of harm's way until Chelsea finally did a half-assed leap off the ring apron, but by then Piper was the only one left there to catch her. In ring, while I see little value in Chelsea Green apart from her selling for others most of the time, man, she really understands her character and knows how to use it to be unique. Kairi Sane next flew in with an elbow drop onto Chelsea and Piper on the outside, followed by Io Sky with a moonsault onto them. Lash Legend threw Metaphor partner Jakara Jackson out onto the others outside before Bianca Belair clotheslined Lash over the top rope to send her out as well. Things came down to Jade and Chelsea as legal competitors in the ring when Jade slammed her with her jaded finisher, but several women leapt in at once to break up the pin. Despite everyone else's efforts though, this match was still near its end, leading to it with Damage Control first taking out Bianca in the ring, followed by Metaphor just ragdolling Kairi Sane to take her out. Chelsea and Piper then double teamed up to take the Metaphor down, but when they went to follow up and Piper was going for a splash, Jade Cargill came back in and slammed Chelsea down, so Piper splashed down onto her own partner Chelsea instead by mistake. With Piper thrown off her game, she actually was then lifted up for defending champs Jade and Bianca to take her down with a Doomsday device, and this was the final big move that ended the match, the women's tag champs retaining. Compared to the Bloodline match that came before, this match was exciting and a lot of fun, but still wasn't anything too special either. 3.5 stars is the score it gets. Known Beast Slayer Seth Rollins took on Big Bronson Reed up next, heated rivals of late following on from Bronson Reed literally murdering Seth Rollins with 6 unwarranted tsunami splashes back in August after SummerSlam, so this was the grudge match to settle their score. Bronson Reed entered the fight rocking the mask of MF Doom on his tights ready for war. as was Seth, who ran up from the ring having already entered to meet Bronson in the entryway and start throwing hands early. They brawled all the way down the long stretch back to the ring, where Seth obtained the first moment of control with a suicide dive out onto Bronson. Short was Seth's advantage, though, as Bronson caught Seth in a subsequent crossbody attempt, Bronson slinging Seth wildly over the nearby barricade into the timekeeper's corner before throwing him again into the ring steps afterward. After that, finally and mercifully, both men came into the ring for the referee to ring the bell and properly get this match started. Bronson surprisingly quickly downed Seth in the ring and splashed him with a tsunami. He went for a second one of who knows how many he would have wanted to hit Seth with this time, but Seth was well enough to roll out of the way and avoid the second, Bronson splashing nothing but the ring mat. While Bronson remained downed and stunned, Seth stomped Bronson, but the kaiju kicked out. Seth didn't let off the gas afterward, however, only to floor it straight into the brick wall that is Bronson Reed for the first of multiple times in this match, Bronson literally sitting on Seth to stop him. Bronson kept Seth down with more heavy hits, Seth at one point attempting to lift the heavyweight up for what seemed like a basic scoop slam, but ultimately failed in his attempt to fight back, at least in this manner. Bronson later had Seth up for a powerbomb, but Seth popped out of it and dropped Bronson with a DDT and a reversal. Seth tried a few more times again to lift Bronson and slam him down, still to no avail, he and his enemy winding up grappling at the turnbuckles where Seth would bite Bronson's hand to send him recoiling and make him vulnerable to be shoved down to the mat. With Bronson down, Seth got froggy on him. Bronson took a few more shots from Seth, but Seth was floored when Big Bronson just straight bodied into him. Bronson followed up with a big spin-out powerbomb, but Seth survived. Bronson hit Seth with a couple more big moves like a Death Valley driver and a big superplex off the top, but Seth still stayed in the fight. When Bronson would try to capitalize and splash Seth with his devastating tsunami, Seth would roll across the ring as he recovered his energy, rolling out of Bronson's leaping range. Things went outside, Bronson grabbing a hold of the ring steps to use them as a weapon out of frustration, not caring about the risk of disqualification, but Seth quickly tripped Bronson down to cause him to collapse down onto the stairs himself. Seth saw Bronson in position and stole the opportunity to stomp Bronson on the ring steps, again as they came back into the ring with Bronson groggy but still moving, and then one final time with Seth from off the top to put the kaiju down for the count. This was a surprising result, and not as chaotic and out of control as I was hoping for and predicting either. I thought surely either Bronson Reed would win this definitively as WWE builds him up as a potential future main eventer, or they would just go feral on each other to the point that the idea of a match with rules containing them would be laughable in hindsight. Still though, with neither of those outcomes happening, this was a great match. Bronson not needing the win in the end to look great in defeat to a long-tenured main eventer like Seth freaking Rollins all the same. This gets 4 stars from me. Alright, so up next was Women's World Champion Liv Morgan from Raw taking on WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax from SmackDown, the first of tonight's 2 Crown Jewel Championship matches where the winner gets to hold a big, ugly, gaudy Saudi Arabian Championship belt for a few minutes before having to give it back to the Saudi Arabian representatives, trading it back for a much smaller ring to take home instead. Liv Morgan's in this match, and we know how every match involving Judgment Day goes by this point, so I'm not even going to pretend having much interest in this match going in. Liv relied on her quickness to start while Nia fought back using her power, Liv with an early advantage and taking Nia down with a tilt-a-whirl DDT. Nia got Liv back with a Samoan drop later. Liv dodged away from a charging Nia to send her crashing into a ring post, Liv following up by mounting Nia's back and stomping her feet, but it wasn't very effective as Nia no-sold it and carried Liv up the turnbuckles to drop her with a Super Samoan drop from off the ropes. Later, Liv got Nia back with a move of her own off the ropes, Liv flipping over Nia on the top turnbuckle with a sunset flip reversal to bring Nia crashing down with a powerbomb out of the corner. Tiffany Stratton came out now to ever-tiringly tease cashing in her money in the bank, but Nia pretty easily scolded and intimidated her into standing down before she could hand her briefcase over to the referee. When Tiffany a little later appeared to begin having second thoughts about trying to cash in, Raquel Rodriguez appeared to stop her physically. With the referee looking away for a moment, Raquel pulled Nia to whiplash against the ropes and open her up for Liv to leap at her off the top to nail a codebreaker. After Nia kicked out, Dom was the next Judgment Day stooge to show up. On the outside, Liv and Raquel got Tiffany cornered to try and eliminate her presence, but Nia, seemingly as done with all of this as I was, just decided to body into all of them. Nia got Liv where she wanted her in the ring, but here we go with it. Dom from the outside interfered to distract the referee's attention, while Raquel on the opposite side knocked Nia down off the rope she was perched on, readying to deliver an annihilator. As Nia was coming back up, Liv caught Nia with Oblivion to steal the win tonight in the most Judgment Day way possible. This was okay, but went exactly the way I dread it would, with Liv not even trying to win this on her own. I don't have the energy or inspiration to rant on about Judgment Day anymore, at least at this point, so I'm just gonna throw a 3 1/4 star score at it and move on, because at least the performers underneath the unbearable Judgment Day characters did a fine enough job working with what they're given, and at least put in more effort to deliver a fun match than the opening Bloodline match did. Seeing Liv unable to hold character afterward and get all teary-eyed emotional when having the Crown Jewel Championship granted upon her was almost enough to pull some feeling from me for this match at the end. Almost. Screw this Liv Morgan heel character, man. As long as that last match took to narrate, this one will likely be the same if not shorter, as Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens never began, the two breaking out in a heated brawl turned nasty before the bell rung to start their match. Kevin, heel now after his two best friends, Randy and Cody, sided with each other over Kevin on his opinion of Cody Rhodes teaming with his bully Roman Reigns at Bad Blood, came up behind Randy while he was mid-entrance, up on the turnbuckles doing his lil pose, and attacked the back of his knee with a chair. Off to a great start. Their fight went outside where Randy got a side suplex in on Kevin to the top of the announce table. Kevin blocked a second, so Randy instead slammed Kev face first into the ring steps. Meeting back in the ring, Owens noticed Randy limping toward him on the knee Kevin hit with a chair earlier, so Kevin went and kicked his leg out of his leg, before carrying on with more chair shots on the now downed Randy.
And that's why I kicked your leg out of your...
The referee on hand tried to stop Kevin's chair assault, so Kev went and gave him a stunner for his troubles. Meanwhile, though, while Kev was busy with that, Randy grabbed the chair in the ring and attacked Kevin with it to pay him back. The two going outside again, where Randy sent Kevin once more crashing into the announce table with his signature side suplex. It was now amongst the chaos when a wave of backstage staff emerging at ringside officially called the match off and tried to separate the belligerent competitors, one making the mistake of entering the ring with Randy and disarming the steel chair from him, so the Viper struck back and sent WWE's production member into the ring post. In ring, Randy pulled Kevin into position and delivered his vintage draping DDT through the ropes, but then reinforcements arriving in the form of the show's general managers created another moment of separation. So what else is old Randy to do but drop general manager of Raw Adam Pearce with an RKO out of nowhere to thank him for allowing Kevin Owens the chance to escape him. The staff on hand checking on the RKO'd Adam Pearce gave Randy a moment to pursue Kevin Owens once more while he was attempting to retreat through the crowd, Randy continuing their brawl into the stands once the enemies reunited out there. When they reached a spot in the crowd spaciously cleared out for something big to happen, Kevin used the solid lid of a road case to convince Randy to lay on down onto a platform of tables, to which Randy complied and laid gently down. Kevin, the madman he is, then climbed up to a platform in the stands a good distance up from Randy on his table and came down on him hard with a huge leaping elbow drop from off the ledge. This proved to be the end of the segment as the staff of Brawl Busters caught back up to the warring competitors, and both Kevin and Randy, after the elbow drop from the stands, were too banged up to carry on fighting any longer. This was fun chaos, pure and simple, a lot like what I was expecting from Seth Rollins and Bronson Reed earlier, while they, on the other hand, had a match more like what I was expecting here from Randy and Kevin. Worth 3 1/4 star for the brevity yet intensity of the brawl, but since this was a match that never began and I'm only scoring official premium live event matches that conclusively happened as shown in such record books as Wikipedia, rating this is officially non-applicable. On to the real match number 5. The competitive turned bitter rivalry between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, stemming from their high-risk Money in the Bank ladder match spots back in July, culminated here, with both of them challenging LA Knight in his U.S. Championship here at Crown Jewel after LA Knight interrupted their tie-breaking 7th singles match on SmackDown to rough up and dismiss both of them as serious challengers. At the bell, rivals Melo and Andrade went straight at it against each other while LA Knight, the champion yet unrelated third party, kicked back and let them go at it, at least for a while, until he felt compelled to start slugging on them both. Knight, however, got a bit too cocky with him, so Andrade and Melo unified just for a moment to stun the champ with a double-teamed superkick. Carmelo executed a series of his flashiest, most athletic moves on Andrade before Knight came back to grab hold of Carmelo and dribble his head like a basketball on the announce table. Knight then slingshot Carmelo back into the ring, but Melo used the momentum to senton onto Andrade. Sometime later, Andrade got a smooth move back on Melo with a Spanish fly off the ropes. Andrade ran and delivered his signature double knee strike on Carmelo, seated in the corner before moonsaulting out of the ring from the top onto LA Knight outside. Carmelo Hayes likewise joined in with a flip over the ropes of his own before the competitors moved back into the ring, Melo blocking 2 attempts at a BFT from LA Knight before Andrade came in with his trademark back elbow attack hitting Knight. Carmelo then came in with a crazy combo, first code breakering Andrade's face while landing with a back senton on LA Knight at the same time, and then hit a cutter move on Andrade, again landing on Knight, Melo attempting to pin both triple threat opponents side by side afterward. The match moving on though, and Andrade with his next big move. He got Knight with his moonsault off the top is dodged, but Andrade lands on his feet and hits his opponent with a second standing moonsault deal, LA Knight damn near catching a knee to the face from it this time. Andrade as well got Carmelo with another big move, this time being something of a modified version of a Spanish fly coming down from off the top, and then LA Knight back in it with a move from the top of his own, came down onto both triple threat challengers with a double elbow drop. Close to the end now in this sprint of the match, Andrade and Carmelo were fighting for control of each other on the turnbuckles when Knight did his flat jump up from the mat to the top, Knight almost slipping and botching as he does sometimes, poor guy, but in the end succeeded in taking Andrade down with a super German suplex down from the ropes. Carmelo Hayes, though, however, held on in place where he was so he could leap down on LA Knight afterward with his nothing but net signature move. The end came after, Hayes and Andrade having one last bit of fighting between themselves when champion LA Knight came up to them, grabbed them both mid-move, and planted both of his challengers on their heads with a double BFT to score the win and retain his US title. This match was quick but excitingly fun, like a good punk rock song, and ranks as my match of the night so far thanks to the absolute athletic talent and in-ring creativity of all involved, further enhanced by the triple threat format. Not that match of the night is saying much with this show to this point. 4 1/4 stars is the rating here. This match boosted up by the really cool double moves we saw all throughout, but only to a ceiling since this match only clocked in at 9 minutes, and the story and drama in matches my feelings need to reach higher scores can't really be delivered in single-digit minutes. 4 1/4 is as high as I can go. And on to the main event for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. Raw's World Heavyweight Champion Gunther versus SmackDown's WWE Champion Cody Rhodes. Let's get through this largely non-canon and subsequently inconsequential match as things started snail-paced slow. Lots of time killing, start-stop grappling, and coming to stalemates in the first few minutes. Things began to pick up when Cody drove Gunther out to the ring apron where he nailed a disaster kick to knock Gunther down and out to the floor, but when Cody went for a follow-up suicide dive, Gunther caught him in a sleeper hold in-ring before Cody could take off. Cody broke free, drove Gunther back out, and tried his suicide dive again, but Gunther caught him again, this time shoving him back first into the ring apron, followed by a scoop slam on the floor. Back in the ring in a moment, Cody tried to scoop slam Gunther back, but Cody's back hurts and Gunther fought him off by targeting it. Cody tried to scoop slam Gunther again, but his back gave out once more, causing him to collapse with Gunther falling on top of him. A little bit later, Cody finally got his scoop slam on Gunther on the third try. Cody also landed a face buster on Gunther, dropping him from a delayed vertical suplex position. Gunther back in control after, he scaled up the turnbuckles where Cody met him there, cut him off, and brought him down with a big superplex. Cody continued on a tear, rolling through his series of signature moves, ending with a Dusty Rhodes bionic elbow and later a Cody cutter. Gunther came back, catching a disaster kick attempt and rolling Cody over into a Boston Crab. Cody was able to power his way out of it, but became trapped in a sleeper hold again. Gunther and Cody struggling back and forth for a while between holding on to the sleeper and breaking out of it. Cody dropped with a jawbreaker to break free for good, reversing Gunther, grabbing at him again to instead drop him with a crossroads, which Gunther survived. On the flip side, Cody survived a T-Rex dropkick and powerbomb from Gunther, making them even as frustration began to boil up. In the final stretch of this main event, Gunther began slapping Cody around, prompting a slugfest to break out, heavy hands being thrown from both men till Cody dropped Gunther with a second crossroads, but again Gunther kicked out of the pin. Cody wanted to continue on, leaping backward from the top turnbuckle for a top rope Cody cutter, but Gunther caught him in sleeper hold position once again. However, Cody was able to roll himself back and over the top of Gunther, Cody pinning Gunther's shoulders down for the 3 before Gunther either realized he was being pinned or before he was able to loosen his sleeper hold grip to kick out. And thusly, the inaugural and equally meaningless Crown Jewel champion was crowned. This match started slow and ended up not much hotter than that, just another main event amongst all the other drawn-out, minimum-effort Saudi Arabian main events. Still, Cody and Gunther are at the very least solid in ring and, in terms of their status, 2 of the best in the business, but this 100% came off as them just coasting on autopilot. Even if this was just another day at the office for Cody and Gunther though, I respect them and their work collectively enough for this to be worth 3.5 stars. And that's Crown Jewel 2024 added into my chart. Not much more to say that I haven't about it already. The US title triple threat remains my match of the night at 4.25 star, while the show overall largely coasted by, devoid of much excitement. Definitely a step down in that front from Bad Blood before it. Let's move on ahead and see if Survivor Series WarGames, live from Vancouver, British Columbia on November 30th, brings my excitement and interest levels back in a positive direction. En route to Survivor Series' first match, we got the shots of wrestlers arriving that's become the usual of late and the normal intro video package too, but compared to the last 2 shows in this mega review especially, all this intro stuff seemed to pass by quicker and more with a sense of urgency, wasting as little time as possible before getting to Match 1, Women's WarGames. The double-wide cage descended from the rafters to enclose the 2 side-by-side rings in the arena ahead of the entrances for tonight's 2 warring women's teams. Rhea Ripley sporting a cool, horned mask to lead the assembled faces of Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Bayley, and Naomi against the heels Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. While WWE likes to say that WarGames matches don't start until every competitor has entered the cage, the better way of putting it is that the match can't end until everyone is in, because starting this match for their teams were Bayley and Nia Jax. Jax being really surprising because I would have thought they'd save the biggest physical threat in the match for last. The action in the cage began slow and mild, neither Nia nor Bayley hustling to establish advantage to start. Toward the end of the first 5 minutes before backup would arrive for Bayley though, a hip attack from Nia in the middle between the 2 rings granted her control. Naomi was the first to be released from her team's cage to enter the WarGames cage, and she went after Nia Jax right away with a kendo stick, eventually being disarmed but staying on the attack with double team moves as soon as Bayley was back to her feet. Nia overcame them using the kendo stick back once she gained possession of it, getting Naomi down and humiliating her by putting a toilet seat over her head. When Naomi came into the ring, she found a toilet seat under the ring and threw it in for use in the match, which I could have gone without seeing on my TV screen, but I suppose it's at least unique, so go off, sis. With Naomi feeling pretty pooped at the moment, Bayley came back in with kendo stick shots on Nia. Recovered and looking for vengeance, Naomi with Bayley got Nia down in the corner and put the toilet seat over her now, Naomi with the stink face to really rub it in. With the next entrant for the heel side entering soon, let's move on from this toilet humor crap now, huh? The next combatant in was Candice LeRae, backing up Nia by first throwing in a collection of weaponry to play with, including a handful of chairs. Nia was quick to arm herself and start swinging, more or less, to get her babyface opponents down as Candice made her way into the cage. The heels didn't take control right away as the fight in Bayley and Naomi led them to work together in taking the heels down, Nia winding up getting pinned down for a moment by a chair wedged between turnbuckles. It didn't take long, though, for Nia to break free and attack the faces with the chair, Candice then establishing control for the moment with a Codebreaker Senton combo attacking both enemies. Candice then went and built a platform by setting up a number of chairs, and after a bit of a struggle with the faces trying to turn the heels' chair plans against them, Bayley ended up taking a moonsault from Candice laid out on the chairs. Next in, combatant number 5 was Bianca Belair, throwing a trash can in at Nia off the bat and also bringing in a fire extinguisher and table to add to the toys in the ring. Candice worked to neutralize Naomi as Bianca made her way in, Bianca making quick work of Candice after a reverse Alabama slam into the corner. Nia came to Bianca with chair in hand, but a kick to the chair knocked it back into Nia's face. Afterward, with the rest of the time before our next entrant, Bianca and Naomi teamed up to stay on Nia while Bayley kept Candice LeRae beat down. Tiffy time came to WarGames as Miss Stratton entered next for the heel team, and with a trash can of her own joining her, Tiffany struck Bianca first with the lid.
No, the lid.
Tiffany showed off her athleticism in the WarGames cage, slamming Naomi down and cartwheeling into an elbow strike on Bianca. Tiffany welcomed partner Nia and joining her to double team both on Bianca and Naomi, while Candice LeRae and Bayley kept in their own lane. Eventually, toward time for the next entrant, the 6 combatants paired down into twos, notably Naomi and Nia fighting over a chair to hit each other with, while we saw Bayley versus Tiffany and Bianca versus Candice elsewhere. Next in was low-key the woman who's been in the most WarGames matches, I'm pretty sure, the unassuming MVP of WarGames, Io Sky, doing her WarGames thing, grabbing a trash can and scaling the outside of the cage to enter from up top. Unfortunately this year, Candice LeRae was able to intercept her entrance and fight her down into the ring off the cage. From in off the cage wall, Io sunset flipped over Candice to bring her down with a powerbomb, but unfortunately it seemed like Io lost grip on Candice and missed executing the move. The pair saved it though a moment later, Io connecting with a missile dropkick to Candice. These two continued, both women trying to out-gymnast each other for a bit until Io moved on and straight up hit Tiffany with a chair. Io kept her momentum rolling, taking down Tiffany and Candice, but stopping her was Nia Jax, flooring Io by bowling into her. In next came Judgment Day's Raquel Rodriguez, stopping to grab a table from under the ring, which the fans were chanting for, but it was all just a troll and she dropped it, the big tease. Raquel entered the cage at full power and went on the usual new entrant tear until women of the face team ganged up on her cooperatively. Nia Jax, queen of the ring, however, came to Raquel's aid and together they cleared the field, doling out double powerbombs to their enemies, slamming 2 of them onto the other 2. By the time Rhea Ripley was released to enter, she was greeted by a 4-on-1 Lion's Den situation, all of the heels versus her. Getting to work, Rhea got control over a table after fighting Raquel for it and did as much damage as she could to her opponents after, but the sheer number difference soon became too much for one woman to overcome, even for Rhea Ripley. In time, Rhea's partners came to her aid, Naomi getting a twofer with a double stunner coming off the top rope, the faces swinging things back around, resulting in a big brawl-like sequence, each competitor so far taking another one out in a chain until only Rhea Ripley was left the last woman standing. This was bad news for Liv Morgan, who was released as the final entrant for Women's WarGames, understandably hesitating, not wanting to rush straight into a cage against the vengeful Rhea. Liv appeared to retreat backstage, but moments later came back out, now armed with a bat, an equalizer to help Liv feel more confident in facing Rhea. The bell finally rung to start this match as Liv stepped into the cage, just as Rhea removed her horned mask to reveal the war paint she put on for tonight. The stalling, waiting for Liv to enter gave everyone else in ring time to recover and return to their feet, so now commenced another big brawl which the heels came out on top of this time, every other babyface getting put down again till the heels ganged up on Rhea 5-on-1. The 4 other heels held Rhea down execution style to allow Liv Morgan with the bat she brought in to club Rhea repeatedly to her satisfaction. Liv got handcuffs from somewhere and prepared to put them on Rhea while she was beat down and slumped in a corner, but Liv was thwarted by Rhea's babyface partners fighting back into things to stop the heels. Once more we saw a full-scale brawl, bodies everywhere until on opposite sides of the WarGames cage, Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky began to climb to the top. each woman with a mass of others below to catch them, Io Sky with trash can moonsaulted down from the top of the WarGames cage, and Tiffany Stratton soon followed with a swanton bomb down from her corner. With everyone now wiped out, Tiffany was the first and only one back up as she began digging through a trash can filled with weapons to reveal her Money in the Bank briefcase she had hidden at the bottom. I don't even want to think about the logic Tiffany had hoping to cash in her Money in the Bank for a title match mid-WarGames. Like, how would that even work? Or why she felt the need to hide her briefcase in a trash can of all things anyway. And what the chances even were that the exact trash can she hid her briefcase in wasn't going to be damaged, used for anything else, or lost entirely. The stuff my brain wonders on. Anyway, Tiffany teased handing her briefcase over to the ref while both women's champions Nia Jax and Liv Morgan were down, but Raquel stepped in to confront Tiffany. Tiffany's Money in the Bank hopes were then extinguished entirely when Io came in armed with a fire extinguisher and blasted both Tiffany and Raquel in the face with it. In the ensuing chaos with the insides of the fire extinguisher still in the air, Rhea Ripley had gotten Raquel Rodriguez handcuffed to the top rope with the handcuffs Liv brought in earlier by the time the gas clouds had cleared. Moving toward this match's finish now, Bianca dropped Candice face first into a turnbuckle while in the opposite ring, Nia Jax bowled over Bayley and Io Sky. Nia kept her roll going, getting Bianca down and positioned on a table, but while Nia scaled up the turnbuckles to drop on her, Bianca came back up and halted her climb, being joined by partner Naomi to powerbomb Nia down through the table. Breaking up the pin was Liv Morgan with her bat, slamming it down over Naomi's back. Liv then hit Io with her bat too, but when she swung at Bianca, Bianca caught the bat under her arm and disarmed Liv. Liv retreated to the other ring with Bianca in pursuit with a chair, but when Bianca got there, Raquel, still handcuffed, big booted the chair into her face. Bayley next came over from the other ring, but the handcuffed Raquel assisted Liv in nailing Bayley with an oblivion with a chair. Rhea Ripley broke up the pin, but Raquel again did what she could to keep Liv from harm, setting up Rhea to be codebreakered by Liv, again with a chair. Liv got Rhea on a table and climbed the turnbuckles, but Rhea had enough strength to rise from the table, meet Liv on the top rope, and after one last fight for control, Rhea slammed Liv down with a riptide through the table below for the win. All the while, Raquel looked devastated and helpless, not being able to do anything about it. This match was a lot of fun, featured a good amount of cool, unique spots, and was a great way to start this show. The face team winning came as a little bit of a surprise to me, but that's just because WWE usually likes to keep things balanced between heel winners and babyface winners, SmackDown winners and Raw winners, etc., and we sure as hell know that the babyface OG Roman Reigns Bloodline team isn't losing their WarGames match later to the heel new Solo Sikoa Bloodline team. This opening match gets on the board with 4 3/4 stars. Next came LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura, one-on-one for the US Championship in a normal singles match, set to take place in only one of the 2 WarGames rings as they usually do. I've always wondered why, to the characters of WWE that is, that the competitors in all the other normal matches that take place on WarGames events barely even acknowledge, let alone utilize, the second ring. Like, I'm sure for the refereeing of the normal matches, being in the other ring would count as being outside of the official ring and trigger the referee's 10 count to come back, but they never even try using the opposite ring, and to my memory at least, it's never been officially explained on screen either. Either way, Shinsuke Nakamura, who only returned to WWE on SmackDown at most 2 weeks ago after several months at least away, entered for his return match with a brand new, darkly sinister and samurai-looking appearance, a getup that I believe would come across as cheesy and potentially offensive in the stereotyping kind of way if it was anyone other than Shinsuke Nakamura, knowing that this is likely a presentation that he embraces. This match started relatively on the slow side, with Knight getting control of Shinsuke first, Shinsuke retreating out of the ring from Knight's early aggression, so Knight dive-kicked Shinsuke through the ropes. They lapped around the ring outside where Shinsuke'd throw Knight into barricades. Knight would bounce Shinsuke's head off the ring apron, and after coming back in, Knight had Shinsuke draped over the top rope to drop a guillotine-style elbow on him. Shinsuke fought back into it, getting Knight draped over the top turnbuckle for his running knee after a few other moves. Knight soon returned with a big move of his own, however, throwing Shinsuke with a big inverted burning hammer. With Shinsuke later up on the top turnbuckle, Knight did his vertical leap from the mat to the top for a quick superplex, but the just as cat-like Shinsuke slipped down between Knight's legs and tripped Knight's footing, causing him to get a little more acquainted with the top rope, let's say. Shinsuke climbed back up to take control and bring Knight crashing down with a big super reverse exploder suplex off the top. LA Knight had enough left in him at this point to dodge Shinsuke's ensuing Kinshasa and fight back, slamming his challenger with something like a rock bottom and nailing him with his LA Knight, elbow drop from the ropes, but Shinsuke rolled out to the middle between the two rings to evade Knight's BFT finisher. Knight met Shinsuke out there, and after both men grappled back and forth trying to suplex each other on the metal plate connecting the two rings, Shinsuke came out on top, dropping the US champion on the back of his head with a reverse DDT on the metal plate. Back in the ring, all that was left was Shinsuke's finisher, the Kinshasa, and LA Knight and his US championship was done. This win for Shinsuke came as a big surprise, given that he only returned from an extended time away 2 weeks ago where he attacked LA Knight seemingly at random to trigger this match on incredibly short notice, and considering the fact that before Shinsuke's most recent sabbatical he was used only to give wins to rivals bigger than him and took nothing but losses for himself. Now, though, it's great to see Shinsuke back to his old form, and this match was the best and most capable Shinsuke has looked in ring for a long time. 3.5 stars, a good sprint of a match despite how short it was. Next up, what I was low-key most excited for coming into this show was this triple threat match between Sheamus, Bron Breakker, two of the hardest hitters in WWE right now, and Ludwig Kaiser, who was also there, all fighting over the Intercontinental Championship. Will it live up to my hype or fall short? Find out in a few minutes after I walk you through it. Ludwig Kaiser at the bell retreated out of the ring to preserve himself and get out of the way, allowing Sheamus and Bron to kick this off 1 versus 1. Sheamus kicked Bron Breakker down, but by the time he was back up, he faced Ludwig Kaiser wielding a chair, perfectly legal under Triple Threat's no DQ rules. Ludwig swung the chair and Bron ducked, going on to run the ropes really fast and smash into Ludwig with a clothesline. Sheamus nailed Bron with 2 consecutive Irish Curse backbreakers before Ludwig came back in to get on Bron himself, getting him hung in the turnbuckles and nailed with a dropkick. Ludwig wedged a chair in the corner, setting up for a move, but when he turned around, he was faced with Sheamus and Bron both cornering him in. The heavyweights attacked, but the quick Ludwig was able to evade. Sheamus was able to catch Ludwig at the ropes to deliver his 10 clubs to the chest, but Bron interrupted the attack. They went outside where Bron charged around the ring for one of his crazy big moves, but Ludwig appeared to cut him off and deliver his own dropkick to Sheamus against the ring steps. Ludwig then threw Sheamus against the adjacent commentary desk just as Bron charged in again to hit Ludwig hard with a high spear. After another slam, Ludwig was down, so Bron and Sheamus on the outside fought one-on-one again, Bron getting ugly, grounding and pounding on Sheamus. After continuing their fight in the ring, Bron got Sheamus down for a pin, and when Sheamus kicked out, Bron cockily did several push-ups as if he's just warming up. Sheamus responded by slapping the taste out of Bron's mouth, going on a rousing tear against him until Ludwig Kaiser joined back in to disrupt Sheamus's role. Ludwig and Sheamus's brawl saw them spill outside, where Bron insanely lunged at the two of them from the ring apron to force both of his opponents over the announce desk with a double clothesline. Bron then sent Sheamus over a barricade outside and tried to do the same to Ludwig, but a reversal from Ludwig sent Bron crashing into the ring steps instead. Ludwig, with his cocky attitude, then leaned against the barricade to pose in appreciation of his taking down of Bron, but Sheamus behind him rose up from behind the barricade he was thrown over earlier, grabbing Ludwig to deliver his 10 clubbing beats to the chest. Bron came by and thought he wanted to join in on the fun too, so Sheamus grabbed him and gave him 10 beats too. With both enemies winded from the clubbing blows, Sheamus then came over the barricade with a flying clothesline to both Ludwig and Bron. Sheamus re-entered the ring while Ludwig Kaiser on the outside grabbed a shillelagh, a kind of Irish cane or club for anyone not familiar with Finley who loves to fight back in the day, and bringing it into the ring, Sheamus wrestled control of the shillelagh away from Ludwig. Before it came into play in a substantial way, however, Bron entered back into the ring where he picked a fight with Sheamus, which ended with a Celtic cross from the turnbuckles. Sheamus readied for a move from the top, but Bron's freakish athleticism had him hop up to the top turnbuckle flat from the mat for his signature Super Frankensteiner. This move has got to be the most athletically impressive move I see on the semi-regular these days. I always pop for it. Bron then went for a spear to end Sheamus, but the Irishman dodged it to send Bron smashing full speed into the chair wedged into the corner from earlier. Sheamus then got the groggy Bron with his brogue kick, but just as my hope for a Sheamus win felt like it could have been a reality, Ludwig Kaiser at the last possible moment interfered, pulling the referee out of the ring to stop his 3 count. Sheamus in retaliation went out to punish Ludwig, only for Ludwig to catch Sheamus off guard with a surprise shillelagh attack, really laying it in with the hits. Meeting back in the ring though, Sheamus likewise surprised Ludwig with his big knee, but after a very close near fall when Sheamus went to deliver his brogue kick finisher to follow up, he winced and was immobilized from the pain he's feeling from the shillelagh attack earlier. Ludwig grabbed Sheamus in his involuntary hesitation and hit him with a really impressive cartwheeling Death Valley driver. They continued to fight between themselves, Ludwig targeting Sheamus's hurting ribs until Bron Breakker flew in and speared Ludwig down. The spears, in fact, were rated E for everyone, so Bron had one with Sheamus's name on it too. This match ending as Sheamus's ribs met their end, Bron pinning the Irish veteran to retain his Intercontinental title. What a physical match, and this is exactly why I've enjoyed watching Bron Breakker so much lately. The personality of his character and everything like that isn't anything I'm necessarily a fan of, but man is he intensely fun. To his credit, he's really proven himself to be far and above from the stereotypical meathead first impression I had of him, and the disdain I originally had for a name that sounds as dumb as Bron Breakker is slowly fading away. He's just insane in the best way possible, bringing a coked up energy to every match he has unlike any other star in WWE this decade at least, just as his Steiner Brothers family did back in the day, with all the strength and fitness to back it up too. His matches on Raw and the occasional premium live event are often the ones I look forward to most nowadays to see what crazy BS he does this time. Sheamus as well has been on top of his game in ring as he's getting into his veteran years especially, and even the off-putting Ludwig Kaiser, who's yet to really shake off the stink of being an underling to Gunther, has been improving greatly too. I come to the conclusion that this match and the competitors involved deserve the recognition of a 5-star score, my second one of 2024. Well done. On to a rematch from SummerSlam with the champion and challenger roles now reversed. Damian Priest challenged Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. This should be brief because my interest in this was low and thus the notes I took are bare bones minimal, but this match started with traditional grappling until Gunther retreated out of the ring to avoid a roundhouse kick from Damian. Gunther in his crisis of confidence story arc was hesitant to get back in the ring against Damian, but things of course eventually continued, Damian seeming to tweak his own shoulder, colliding into Gunther for an attempted shoulder tackle, making note of this as it would be a major plot point of this match. They'd continue after a brief pause where Damian would drop Gunther with a flapjack, however that would aggravate Damian's shoulder a bit more. Gunther would take this as a target and win on the attack, both inside and out of the ring where Damian would be thrown into ring posts and barricades shoulder first. Damian, however, once back in the ring, would begin fighting through the pain to gradually make the match more even again. An enziguri kick caught Gunther, and Damian followed with clubbing chops to Gunther's chest. Damian continued on, scoring a 2 count over Gunther after a few more moves took him down. The two traded a few more moves and holds until Damian took Gunther down into triangle choke, but Gunther shifted his weight to pin Damian in the submission, forcing Damian to kick out and release the hold. Damian lifted Gunther up for a razor's edge, but his shoulder would give out and he had to drop Gunther. Gunther capitalized afterward, powerbombing Damian for a 2 count. They moved to the turnbuckles and scaled them, fighting for control over the other to nail something big. Damian would succeed in the endeavor, surprising Gunther and likely everyone else watching with a big super Hurricane Rana off the top. On the mat, Damian followed with a successful razor's edge this time, but Gunther survived and kicked out. Damian tried to follow up with his South of Heaven chokeslam finisher, but Damian's hurt shoulder struggled to lift Gunther after 2 attempts. Gunther capitalized by bringing Damian down in a Kimura lock, of course, on Damian's bad shoulder, but Damian toughed it out and reached the ropes to force a break. Crisis of confidence. Gunther looked frustrated and in doubt of himself as he recomposed and re-strategized afterward, before repetitively bringing Damian up to his feet, only to clothesline him back down twice in a row.
Stop! He's already dead!
Bringing Damian back up for a third clothesline, apparently with nothing else in mind to try. Damian came back to life, ducking under the clothesline to come back and clothesline Gunther down himself instead. Damian went up to the top turnbuckle, but Gunther quickly hit the ropes to knock him down, Damian turning his Puerto Rican berries into preserves on the top rope. Between him and LA Knight suffering the same fate a couple matches ago, that must have been a pretty awkward night in the doctor's office, huh? Gunther went up to try bringing Damian down off the ropes, but Damian shoved Gunther back down off of him, also causing Damian himself to lose his balance and fall the other way down to the floor outside. While out there and still downed, Finn Balor appeared and stomped Damian with a coup de grace coming off the ring steps. I wasn't happy to see Finn show up, and neither was Gunther, who thanked Finn for his interference on Damian by meeting him outside and big booting him down. Back in the ring, Gunther powerbombed Damian and then smothered him in his sleeper hold, putting Damian out for good. Gunther retained his World Heavyweight Championship with an unwanted assist. So, okay, before I get into it, let me share how my mind thinks of matches when I'm in the process of rating them. 3 stars even is the baseline all matches start at before anything even needs to happen, and the score then adjusts from there as everything I either like or dislike about a match is added onto my imaginary rating scale until a score is settled upon. Bear with me on it, as I know 3 stars is a little more than half of the highest possible 5. I just feel like giving a match anywhere in the 2s, even 2 3/4, indicates a negative opinion of it. If it's not good or at least interesting in any way, then it has to be bad in some way. With that said, this match is getting 2 3/4 stars, easily the lowest of the night, and here's why. At SummerSlam just 4 months ago, Finn Balor interfered and cost Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship to Gunther the first time they went one-on-one, and now at Survivor Series on November 30th, Finn Balor interfered to cost Damian Priest the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther all over again in the exact same manner, copy and paste. No matter how good the in-ring action is, which, I mean, Gunther and Damian were fine here, far from their best work, but fine, I need what I choose to watch to bring something new to the table, because unoriginal repetition bugs the hell out of me. If things aren't progressing anywhere and new aspects of the story aren't developing, then we're just stalling and wasting time, not just Gunther's and Damian's, but mine too. Between said finish and all the drawn-out time this match spent leading there, randomly attacking Damian's shoulder as if this was the old-school type of wrestling from the 70s and 80s where the most exciting thing you'd see was a body slam and maybe a leg drop, this match just was nothing for me or my tastes. It existed and happened and will never occupy space in my memories beyond that. Highly not impressed, especially with Gunther's work lately, as this marks a second consecutive underwhelming match on his report card. I expect better from you, big Austrian man. On to Survivor Series' WarGames main event. The Bloodline Civil War came to a head with Roman's side meeting Solo's side to settle their business in the WarGames cage. Tama Tonga started the match for the heels, entering first and climbing around the inside of the cage walls like a rabid Tongan Spider-Man. Jey Uso entered in through the crowd, yeeting all over the place after the rest of the good Bloodline team settled into their team cage, meeting Tama in WarGames to start this thing. And start this thing they eventually did, minutes later after lots of staring and circling each other. At the 5-minute mark, Bronson Reed, a sort of hired Samoan gun in Solo's employ for this match, entered, being the first to join the action, bringing chairs with him into the ring. Try it as Jey might to slow the approaching Bronson, Bronson's power and Bronson's chairs beat Jey down, being joined by Tama Tonga soon for some double-team action. With another 3 minutes passed, Big Jim was the next to enter, coming in to back up his twin Uso. Jimmy Uso knocked Bronson and Tama down with a whisper in the wind from a ring corner, giving a hand to help Jey back up to his feet to stay on the attack over the heels afterward. When time came to release the next entrant, Tonga Loa in the Bad Bloodline's cage moved to go in, but Solo stopped him to send his unflinching enforcer in instead, the Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu. Jacob entered WarGames against both Usos united, no-selling their attacks and taking them both down with ease, hitting a cool handspring moonsault to keep both Usos down with the wind knocked out of them. After Jacob's initial flurry, Bronson and Tama joined in with Jacob to keep the Usos down. Next entrant for Roman's side, when the team cage opened, CM Punk took a step to leave when, like Solo just minutes before with Tongaloa, Roman blocked Punk's exit and eyed Sami Zayn for him to go instead. Punk visibly looked disgruntled with being stopped. To him, who is Roman to order him to stay? He's only here helping the good bloodline as a favor to Paul Heyman to be repaid later. Punk has no love and thus no loyalty to Roman and what authority he imposes on others. As the tension lingered, Sami made his way into the WarGames cage, using the momentum of his entrance to swing the tide of the match back to the face's favor. Sami soon cross-bodied into Jacob Fatu, who caught him, but before Jacob could turn things around, a super kick from Jim Uso knocked him down, Sami splashing onto him on the way down. Sami now, with Jimmy backing him up, had the time for him and Jim's secret handshake. Meanwhile, cutting back to the Good Bloodline's team cage, Punk and Roman were shown waiting patiently for the time to pass, passive-aggressively ignoring each other's presence. Back in the ring before the next entrant would join us, however, Bad Bloodline's Jacob, Bronson, and Tama Tonga came back to take down Jimmy, Jay, and Sami Uso. Joining them was Tongaloa now, putting tables in the ring before joining his team and keeping the Good Bloodline team down. Jacob kept beastin', introducing Jey Uso to a steel chair wedged between turnbuckles and Sami to the steel of the cage wall. Jacob had to shoo away a cameraman getting in the way of him moonsaulting onto Jey Uso, and later Tama Tonga kicked a chair into Jimmy's face. Just as the face team were at their lowest and in desperate need of reinforcements, time came for the Good Bloodline team cage to open once more, but when Roman Reigns moved to step out, CM Punk repaid him for stopping him earlier, pushing past Roman to call his shot and enter now. He grabbed and brought with him a toolbox into the ring, a toolbox which would look very familiar to Drew McIntyre, who felt its wrath in Hell in a Cell at the start of this video. Punk entered WarGames and started swinging on Tongaloa with the toolbox, one shot in particular injuring one of Tonga's arm muscles, either biceps or triceps, I can't remember, but man, poor guy. The toolbox claimed another victim, making contact with the SLT a bit harder than it's meant to. Jacob approached Punk, who turned his attention to the werewolf, Jacob no-selling Punk's attacks and Samoan dropping him. So much for Punk triggering the babyface comeback, huh? Bad Bloodline were back on the attack again as time passed before their captain would join them. Solo entered WarGames, and with him all 5 heels were in. Bad Bloodline continued having their way with Roman's Bloodline now, with Solo in their barking orders, this final moment before the entry of the original Tribal Chief being capped off with more moonsaults from Jacob Fatu onto the Usos, and Bronson Reed tsunamiing Sami Zayn. Moments before the countdown clock reached 0 for the last time tonight, Solo took a chain and wove it around the doorframe of the cage, making sure it'll keep out the final man yet to enter WarGames. And that man was our dude, the Tribal Chief and certified big dog Roman Reigns. Roman took a second to check the door and find it truly to be chained shut, so he thought no bother and started climbing up the outside of the cage to enter instead. Fighting off those trying to stop him, Roman, after climbing inside, leapt from a set of turnbuckles with a crossbody onto all of the Bad Bloodline. Roman, when helping his partners back up to their feet, further teased tension with Punk by neglecting to help him, but Paul Heyman came down to coach them on the importance of focusing on the match and getting along, if just for now. With both sides regrouped, recovered, and ready to start this match for real, they met in the middle to start with the token mass brawl. Sami took Bronson down with a tornado DDT from a corner, while the Usos super kicked the Tongans down and Uso splashed them. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu got on the Usos to take them out, but Roman Reigns and CM Punk, working together through happenstance, fought Solo and Jacob off. Solo readied his thumb to spike Roman while Punk lifted Jacob up for a go-to-sleep, but when Roman dodged the Samoan spike and rebounded off the ropes to spear Solo, Solo dodged as well and sent Roman's spear into CM Punk instead, taking Punk down with Jacob on top of him. Solo capitalized, grabbing Roman to spike him in the neck, connecting this time, but Roman kicked out. Moving on to the opposite WarGames ring, Bronson Reed hit CM Punk with a Death Valley driver. However, in the follow-up, a moonsault from Jacob Fatu missed Punk for some reason, likely being simply for Jacob Fatu to weaken his own character as he was selling a hurt knee afterward. Whether Jacob threw his own moonsault on purpose or it was a rare botch from the werewolf, either way, Bronson continued the job, sentoning onto the downed Punk. Bad Bloodline got a table set up in the ring and eventually laid Roman on it, Big Bronson Reed forebodingly climbing to the top of the cage for a huge WarGames-sized tsunami. Now, at time of writing, this happened 4 months ago, and if you saw this live or anytime since then, you'll know what happened next. This will be my first time covering such an injury in one of these review videos, so if you don't have the tolerance for sports-related injuries, let's say, now will be the time to look away and let my voice walk you through what happened, or skip ahead to the next timestamp to move on entirely to the point where I have my next background picture up. That said, Bronson Reed leapt from the top of the WarGames cage to tsunami splash Roman through the table below, but on his way down, Punk came in at the last second to pull Roman off the table and save him, causing Bronson to splash through the table on his own. Only, and the gruesome part starts, in the moment Bronson Reed made contact with the table to break it, his feet caught himself with all of his weight coming down off the cage, his right foot in particular rolling and going sideways as seen here. And Jesus Christ, this is nasty to see. Despite this, the extent of the damage done medically coming out of this match was a broken foot, not ankle, miraculously, though I imagine both must have been in unimaginable pain. He understandably spent the rest of this match down and out of the way along the side of the cage, and to date he's yet to return from this 4 months later, so well wishes to the big man. Punk had collapsed to the mat after pulling Roman out of the way of Bronson's doomed tsunami, so Roman finally acknowledged CM Punk as an equal on his team, helping Punk back up to his feet finally and sharing a moment of respect. Soiling the moment was Jacob Fatu going on the attack and pouncing on them, Jacob flooring Punk once more while Solo gave double Samoan spikes to Roman, but the Usos saved the match this time, super kicking Solo off of his pin over the original Tribal Chief. The Usos stayed on the attack on Jacob to take him out, ending with their 1D team finisher, positioning him onto another table afterward. Let's hope this table spot goes a little safer than the last one, am I right? Tama Tonga intervened to cancel whatever the Usos were planning, but Sami Zayn came and blue thunder bombed Tama to get him out of the way, Big Jim Uso climbing up to the top of the WarGames cage afterward now that the coast was clear, likely praying that his leap from the cage doesn't end the same way Bronson's did, if Jimmy was even aware, to be fair. Big Jim Uso splashed down onto Jacob Fatu successfully through the table below, and, oh for God's sake, Jimmy Uso broke his toe, largely identical to how Bronson Reed suffered his injury. That's 2 for 2 on the cage dives resulting in injury during this match. We're mercifully on to the finish now, mercifully so no one else can get hurt in this cursed match. With Bronson Reed and Tonga Loa down with legit injuries, Jacob Fatu Uso splashed through a table, and Tama Tonga having recently been blue thunder bombed, Solo Sikoa found himself alone in the middle of the stage left WarGames ring with all of Roman's Bloodline team up and surrounding him. Roman faked Solo out, holding his arms out for a peace-offering embrace, only for the Usos to superkick the head of the Bad Bloodline, and everyone else unloaded finishers on Solo from there. Sami with a haluva kick, Punk with a go-to-sleep, and lastly Roman with a spear to end this. With WarGames over and Roman's team the definitive victors, Roman and Punk met one last time before parting ways, bringing their temporary business partnership to a close with a respectful handshake. This WarGames match was a solid main event for the show and delivered in that aspect, though I found the opening women's WarGames match to be a little more thrilling and exciting in the end. The winning team was never really in doubt in my mind, not at all saying that being predictable is a bad thing. More often than not, the clear favorite outcome is the right one. Just that by the end of the match, after everything, I feel like the only things that this will be remembered for are negative things, that being how many god-dang injuries got racked up over the 40 minutes of this main event. A third of the field almost, 3 out of 10 performers came out of this with wounds requiring time off, including both of those who executed splashes from the top of the cage and landed badly on their feet. Both of them. Luckily, Jimmy Uso's broken toe healed quickly and Big Jim was back to regular action a week or 2 into December, but neither Bronson Reed, who got the worst of it by far, nor Tonga Loa, with how slow injured muscles can heal, have been seen since. 4 1/4 star for this cursed WarGames match, and here's hoping next year's won't have quite as high of a casualty count. Here are all of the Survivor Series matches up on the scoreboard, solid overall, alternating between peaks and lower points. As I move on to the final show covered in this mega video closing out the year of 2024, I'll announce now that Survivor Series here will be the final event I review to such an in-depth play-by-play degree. As much as I've mentioned in past videos about trying my best to limit how long these reviews take to write and the subsequent videos take to make, this time I mean it. The following and final show of 2024 2024, Saturday night's main event will be the perfect show to begin shifting how I take notes of what I watch and how I translate them into wrestling reviews moving forward, as Saturday night's main event ended up being more of a 2-hour network special than a full-fledged WWE Premium Live event. So much so that I actually debated whether or not to even bother including it as part of my WWE review series canon, but Wikipedia includes it in their list of WWE pay-per-view and live streaming supercards, so for the sake of honoring the great Wikipedia and their list of canon WWE events, I must include it in my review too. Before I begin though, to finish what I was saying about how time-consuming writing for this video has been, let me take this back to where it all started. When I began this series of WWE reviews in the summer of last year, I had to catch up with everything from the start of 2024 up to Money in the Bank in July for the sake of making the year complete, and I did so, reviewing all of 8 WWE shows in great time, accomplishing that by keeping each match coverage short, sweet, and boiled down to only the most essential of noteworthy highlights. Each show of those 8 in my first WWE video only took about 5 minutes each. However, as soon as my next video after that covering SummerSlam in its own standalone review, the mindset I had for that became, hey, now I only have one show to write about, so I'm going to take my time with it, go in depth with the details, and go play by play to better explain my emotions going through each match and my reasonings for why each rating was what they were. I got a bit carried away with it, however, and SummerSlam and Bash in Berlin after it both ended up being half-hour videos for one show each. At time of writing, the first show covered in this video, Bad Blood from October 2024, was 6 months ago, and for the sake of getting more Twisted Metal videos made, sharing original story writing, and everything else I want to do with this YouTube channel, I really need to rein it in and not spend a whole month each writing review scripts for WWE shows anymore. I can accomplish everything I want to do for this series of wrestling reviews moving forward in far greater condensed packages, maybe not 5 minutes per show like I achieved in my first WWE video as mentioned, but perhaps 10 or 15, just enough time to cover my top 5-ish in-ring highlights or other talking points per match, doing away with anything resembling a full play-by-play starting now. Saturday night's main event 2024 came to us live from Uniondale, New York's Nassau Coliseum on December 14th, the same location as the very first Saturday night's main event way back in 1985, in fact. Let's get into it at last, refreshed and renewed with my refocused mindset for reviewing wrestling. A few talking points to start. I thought the retro 80s presentation of the show was pretty cool, from the music and on-screen graphics to the red, white, and blue ring ropes and the classic referee outfits. The show felt smaller budget and less produced, but not in a bad way, in a way that made Saturday night's main event feel refreshing and unique from every other show I've reviewed from 2024. Jesse Ventura, who was a heel color commentator for WWE in the latter half of the 80s and is now in his early 70s, is present tonight as a guest announcer. To jump ahead a bit and give my thoughts on his contribution to the show, I'm happy for him that they brought him back for this because he looked happy to be there, but for me personally as a viewer, I could have gone without. I've seen lots of praise online for his performance as an announcer on this night, but I don't see it. I'll chalk it up as influenced by nostalgia because personally I felt that he detracted from the show a lot more than added to it. Too many of his talking points as an announcer came off as outdated, out of touch, and just grated on me almost as bad as Michael Cole did in his coal mine character arc, as Jesse Ventura fell back into his 80s heel commentator ways, especially during tonight's main event where he was ringside at the desk, clashing so greatly in style against the commentators of today. Perhaps it's on me being too young at 30 years old, born in the 90s, and not being a watcher of WWE until the Ruthless Aggression era for not appreciating his old school approach to commentary. I grew up spoiled by the likes of Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler instead. Anyway, on to the start of the first match, a Sami Zayn vs. Drew McIntyre grudge match brought forth by Drew deciding to punish everyone who helped Roman Reigns win at WarGames because Drew can't move on from a grudge over 2 years ago. Sami brought high energy early tonight, this match having an extreme sense of urgency about it. I'd come to find out that was because every match on tonight was in the range of 10 minutes or less because this show as a whole was only 2 hours long with commercials. As soon as I saw the first cut to commercial break, I knew that, as strange and jarring as it was at the time, this was going to be a show on more of a minor scale than any other premium live event in years, and with more of these to come in 2025, this will be what to expect from them moving forward. We saw Sami fly high with his signature springboard moonsault out to Drew on the outside, and for a follow-up he then vaulted over the ropes for a crossbody type of dive, but Drew caught Sami out of the air and chucked him over the commentary desk, putting Drew firmly in control. A cool sequence later, Sami, after coming back, ready to deliver a haluva kick, but Drew blocked it by lifting up a boot for him to run into. Drew would slam Sami while stunned, first with a spinebuster and secondly with a powerbomb, which Drew deadlifted Sami up for. The Scottish Warrior would continue, carrying Sami with him up the turnbuckles looking for a super white noise, but Sami was able to shift his weight to bring Drew crashing back down, rolling through with a sunset flip powerbomb from the turnbuckles. Nearing the finish already, and I'll get to that. Drew blocked the Blue Thunderbomb attempts from Sami, and Glasgow kissed him on the third try. Drew went for a Claymore kick, but just as he did previously, blocking Sami's haluva kick, Sami this time was the one to lift his boot up to counter when Drew charged in. With Drew stunned now, Sami finally lifted the Big Scott up to slam him with the Blue Thunderbomb. Sami got in position to deliver his haluva kick to finish Drew once more, but Drew rolled out of the ring to evade. Sami'd give chase going outside too, but Drew U-turned immediately back into the ring to throw Sami off. By the time Sami slid back in too, Drew was already up on his feet waiting for him, nailing Sami with a Claymore, and just like that, it was done. This match started going from 0 to 60 right out the gate, and ended going from 60 back down to a dead stop 0 just as quick. Gave me whiplash, and it loses points for that. Had this gone for maybe another 5 minutes or so to reach a more natural feeling ending, it could have well been a 5-star match, as it was just that intense. The action was great, and the sense of urgency from the performers made this match feel important. But then, the plug was pulled, and while sure, all the other matches on this night lasted roughly the same amount of time, this one in particular felt jarringly abrupt, since the momentum it had seemed to be leading to substantially more. The Claymore from Drew McIntyre not only knocked Sami Zayn's lights out, but it knocked my rating for this down to 3 3/4 stars where it lands. Next up, Liv Morgan was set to defend the Women's World Championship against #1 contender Io Sky. Dom and Raquel accompanied Liv in her entrance, plus who knows who else from Judgment Day, no doubt lurking in the back just waiting to interfere. The bell hasn't even rung to start this yet, and I already know I'm going to hate this. Such is the way of Judgment Day ruining what otherwise should be good matches, since they all act like winning anything clean will literally cause them to drop dead on the spot. In fact, though, Liv did carry on down to the ring on her own while Dom and Raquel returned backstage, but really, I've grown far too jaded with Judgment Day's BS to see this as a positive sign, because they deserve as much benefit of the doubt as a hungry snake would with a fresh live mouse in its cage. I suppose we've got no choice though but to see where this goes. The action in the match was good and evenly back and forth to start. By the time Io got on a roll, she showed off her amazing athleticism, hitting springboard moonsaults, gymnast-like flips around the ring, suicide dives to the outside, and her signature missile dropkick. Liv weathered the Io storm and came back when she dodged Io's bullet train knee attack in the corner, countering first with a backstabber, followed by a leaping codebreaker from off the second turnbuckle in sequence. Later, Io nailed a trio of German suplexes, holding on and rolling through between each one a la Three Amigos. Io then attempted to springboard from the ring apron in for her next attack, but she happened to lose her footing on the top rope. Luckily, Liv thought quick and saved the slip-up, hitting Io with a standing codebreaker to move things along. Io successfully blocked Liv's finisher, the Oblivion, and countered, taking Liv down in a crossface submission, but Liv pretty easily rolled through to escape only to get caught with a knee to the face, that is. More knees came with Io's bullet train attack, followed by an attempt at her over the moonsault finisher, but Liv lifted her feet up for Io to eat. After that, with Io's momentum carrying her to position at the ring ropes, Liv came in and spiked Io's head into the mat with her Oblivion finisher, a bloody grin on Liv's face after the referee counted the 3. And wait, what? A member of Judgment Day just won fully under their own power, no interference at all, almost as if Liv is above needing to rely on blatant cheating to win? Someone please check to see if hell has frozen over. This match honestly did justice to the legit talents of both Io and Liv, but especially big props to the bookers for graciously putting effort into rehabbing Liv's tainted heel character, letting her actually win this one clean, likely for the first time in many long, dreadfully booked months. 3 3/4 stars, equal in heat and quality to the opening match prior. World Heavyweight Championship in the middle of the card next. Gunther set to defend against Damian Priest and Finn Balor, both in a triple threat. This came about from the fallout of Survivor Series, where Finn Balor interfered once again to cost Damian, but Gunther had no thanks to give Finn in return. In fact, Gunther made clear he was tired of others interfering in his matches and helping him, and I mean especially when the Judgment Day are involved same, because what the big mean Austrian needed and wanted to get himself back on track in his mind is a strong, dominant win without any asterisks in the record book. Thus, Gunther decided that the best way to achieve that would be to defend his gold against both Damian and Finn to settle the controversy and put an end to this thing at last. Nick meh, says Gunther. On to the entrances. Finn came out with a bag on he head. Damian came out rocking gear fresh off the pages of the latest Hot Topic catalog, and Gunther came out looking like a man who's not allowed within 50 feet of a school. Finn started the match cautious, avoiding Damian and retreating from the ring when he lunged at him, trying to make him pay for the past interferences, so Gunther and Damian started the action where they left off at Survivor Series instead. A dive from Damian over the ropes onto Gunther outside landed bad, Gunther seeming to be a bit out of position and failing to catch Damian, who splat and crashed hard on the ringside floor. Damian, to his credit though, sprung right back up to his feet, no-selling the no-catch with not an ounce of pain on his face. Adrenaline is a hell of a thing, ain't it? Back from this match's ad break, Damian and Finn were going at it in the ring till Gunther appeared from outside and big-booted both of his challengers down. Gunther stayed on Damian and put him in a Boston Crab till Finn ran in with a chop on Gunther. It wasn't very effective as Gunther no-sold, let go of Damian and squared up to Finn. They went at it till Damian was back up, Damian taking them both down with a double lariat. Damian continued on top for a while, getting Gunther with an old-school crossbody, as in Undertaker's old-school signature move where he'd walk the top rope before delivering a clothesline, and Finn with a flatliner. The three continued evenly for a moment, each hitting signature moves on each other, or at least trying to before being cut off by another, leading to a near Tower of Doom spot. Damian razors edging Gunther from off of the turnbuckles before Finn leapt onto him from the top with a coup de grace. Damian slammed Finn with a South of Heaven chokeslam, but Gunther broke up the pin, pulling Damian off and out of the ring by the hair. Outside, Gunther powerbombed Damian onto the bottom half of his set of ring steps, this nearly going terribly wrong when Damian's foot clipped the edge of the stairs on his way up, but luckily Gunther's strength and awareness allowed him to hold on and not drop Damian straight down onto his head, executing the move successfully in the end. After, Gunther re-entered the ring to T-Rex dropkick Finn, who whiplashed against the corner behind him, bouncing back and stumbling forward to where Gunther slammed Finn with a powerbomb to win. This was an awesome triple threat, which to me they usually are, as I've mentioned before. High energy, high impact, and it succeeded in getting Gunther back on track, putting on awesome physical matches. His past few in particular have been more than just a bit disappointing, which may have been the point of his whole Crisis of Confidence story arc, but I'm happy and stoked to see it seems like we're back to the old, intense, dominating Gunther I've come to know and appreciate. It may have only been an off couple of months for him, but it's a long time coming still. 4.5 stars for this banger. Alright, last stop before the main event, we have a tournament final to crown WWE's first ever mid-card women's champion, Michin and Chelsea Green, fighting for the honor of becoming the inaugural Women's United States champ. While SmackDown's getting their mid-card women's title tonight, Raw also will be getting a women's mid-card title too by way of the Women's Intercontinental Championship, though their tournament is still just getting started and won't conclude till about a month later in January 2025. It's cool seeing the likes of Chelsea Green and Michin get the spotlight like this, a singles tournament final on a premium live event, even if this barely counts as one. So let's see how it goes. Things stayed even till Michin started picking up momentum, trapping Chelsea with a unique second rope version of a tarantula. Piper Niven, however, in support of Chelsea, hit a hard reset on Michin, slamming her on the floor outside while Chelsea in the ring had the ref's attention. Returning from a break, Michin caught a Chelsea Green Rough Rider attempt and reversed it to drop Chelsea with a powerbomb. And I say drop because Michin kind of just let her fall instead of slamming her with power. After a few more moves back and forth though, Chelsea did get her Rough Rider. Chelsea in the ring charged toward Michin on the apron, but Michin dodged and sent Chelsea flying out of the ring, crashing into partner Piper instead. Michin then joined them, somersault sentoning onto them from the apron, then giving an eat defeat to Piper for good measure. Back in the ring, another eat defeat was dealt to Chelsea, though hers was a bit mispositioned and noticeably made minimal contact. I'm sure it wasn't much effort for her when she put up her foot on the bottom rope to break the pin. Michin lifted Chelsea up onto the turnbuckles for a super move of some kind, but Piper came up on the apron to stop her before finding out what she was planning. Michin had no choice but to deal with her, drop-kicking Piper back down off the apron. The diversion was exactly what Chelsea Green needed, however, grabbing Michin and flipping forward over her in a unique setup to her unpretty her finisher, and with a leap to put extra stank on it, Chelsea hit the move and won. This cool finish being executed so well, slightly redeeming the otherwise rough quality of this match. If this Women's United States Championship tournament needed to end with Chelsea Green as its first winner, then her pulling this trick out of the bag was the perfect way to cap off the overall match. So yeah, this wasn't great, but it was okay and served its purpose of crowning Chelsea as WWE's first women's mid-card champion. That said, for me, it also displayed why these two are firmly in the women's mid-card, away from top women's champion territory. I pointed out the most notable mistimed moments in my abridged review, but overall there were too many spots throughout the match which were roughly executed, uncoordinated, disjointed, etc., balanced out only so slightly in equal parts with positive highlights. This has got to be lower than 3 stars, unfortunately, but I won't dip too far down below sea level. Again, Chelsea's finisher off the ropes was really unexpectedly cool, especially since normal unprettiers are so awkward and difficult to set up smoothly, but by God, Chelsea figured it out. It's good to see Chelsea rewarded for the work she's done this year, establishing a character that works for her and is getting over. Maybe not over with me, necessarily. Personally, I find her to be insufferable and grating, but that's the point, and I can appreciate that. I do hope these two improve and do reach their next level someday, but as they are now, these are two female wrestlers I don't expect much from, who delivered a match I didn't expect much from, so they lived up to those mid-expectations. 2 3/4 stars. Finally, on to the last main event and match of any kind in this video. Kevin Owens carried on his heel turn storyline after having attacked Cody Rhodes in the parking lot after Bad Blood, brawled with Randy Orton in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel as covered earlier in this video, and later dropped Randy on his head with a piledriver on SmackDown, the first time we've seen that outlawed move used in WWE in any way for many years, putting Randy back out of action with a kayfabe injured neck. Kevin came to meet Cody Rhodes in a rematch for the WWE Championship tonight to settle the bad blood which has boiled up between them since their first face versus face meeting back at Bash in Berlin. Earlier before the show, it was unveiled that for one night only, WWE would be bringing the famed Winged Eagle design for the WWE Championship out of the retirement home of title belts for the men to fight over tonight. So let's see who wins this piece of history to add to their collections at home. The match started with stalling, which I love to see. Kevin evading Cody and rolling out of the ring to postpone tying up with the vengeful champ. Cody took the fight to Kevin, diving into him from the inside of the ring, but on the landing he began selling a hurt ankle, so now the babyface champ has to spend the rest of this match selling a randomly injured nonsense body part, so we're off to an even better start. Kevin, of course, smelling blood in the water now, went on the attack, leading to him side suplexing Cody onto the commentary table to mock Randy Orton. Moving back to the ring, we had a good stretch of standard wrestling action, ending with a Kevin Owens swanton from the top after Cody Rhodes was tripped up and landed berries first on the top rope. Returning outside, Cody was the next to pull a Randy Orton move, hitting Kevin with an RKO on the unbreaking commentary table, and back inside again, Cody hit the same move under a different name and setup, Cody's own Cody Cutter. Next, Cody lifted Kevin up to the top turnbuckle for a superplex, but by now we all know what happens when someone tries to superplex Kev. Kevin with his always awesome Fisherman Buster move from the top, but by now it's become a bit overused lately and thus predictable. Rhodes got all of this move set up and in position himself, so you literally did this to yourself, Cody. You should know better. Coming back up, Kevin shoved Cody in the direction the referee was in, and Cody couldn't or wouldn't stop himself from bowling over the ref and knocking him down. Kevin got Cody with a stunner, but there was no referee to make the count after Cody was pushed into him. You literally did this to yourself, Kevin. A new ref ran in, but clearly too much time had passed and Cody kicked out. Cody bounced off the ropes for his disaster kick, but Kevin moved out of the way, so he accidentally cross-bodied into ref number 2. 2 ref bumps in one match really seems like overkill and makes this feel like a parody of the main event by this point. On to the final spot of the match. Kevin went and got a chair to use with no referee once again to stop him, but Cody succeeded in dodging the attack and took Kev down with another Cody cutter. With Kevin disarmed from his weapon and the chair now flat on the mat, Cody got Kevin with a crossroads, which happened to plant Kevin's face into the steel, whether by the intention of Cody's character or not. By now, the original referee that Cody was pushed into has taken his Phoenix down and regained consciousness, so he counted the pin to end the match, Cody winning and retaining. This was nothing special, which is disappointing because from these two I was expecting much more from their Bash in Berlin rematch. Kevin's heel turn has felt forced from the start for starters, like that's how it comes across whenever someone's written to turn heel but needs to actively fight against persisting fan support to do it, so I feel like this match suffered because it's not coming as natural yet. Not saying that Kevin Owens hasn't been great as a heel historically, but at least Kevin Owens at this point in his career is like too beloved as a badass to get booed. It just ain't gonna happen, at least not yet, against the likes of Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. As a result, this match had a lot of unexciting stalling, targeting of a weakness that had to be manufactured when Cody Rhodes hurt his ankle after a suicide dive because he would be too strong fighting against Kevin at full strength otherwise, and as mentioned, the near comically ridiculous double ref bump was overkill almost to the point of parody. Despite that, the work of Cody and Kevin as performers is always solid and good enough to carry the score of this match just slightly higher than the median of my scale, Cody's cutters and Kevin's fisherman busters always being things of beauty. 3 1/4 star is what feels right for this, the final premium live event match of 2024. After the match, just before going off air, Kevin Owens was upset and attacked Cody, ending with the dealing of a signature package pile driver to the WWE Champion. Kevin left the ring and walked out, stealing with him the Winged Eagle title belt, proclaiming himself to be the real champion despite his loss, a real to be continued leading into 2025. And that's Saturday night's main event, the first one of them in about 15 years added into my chart, and just as well that completes the star ranking of every premium live event match in 2024. Looking at the final show of my first year making videos for YouTube as full-time as I can spare, it's looking like it performed just about as well as the glorified episode of Raw or SmackDown it presented as, a somewhat middle step between those episodic shows and something worthy of being called a pay-per-view. Now, no image yet as to not reveal spoilers, but with every premium live event match in 2024 now ranked and reviewed by me, let's dig through the old record book and see which 20 WWE stars had the best year, ranked solely on their star rating average. First, as I get into honorable mentions, I decided for my official top 20 that I want to omit all wrestlers who had less than 3 premium live event matches through the year, as I feel like only having 1 or 2 matches to score on isn't a large enough pool to calculate a fair average against others who had much more matches, and I found with my rankings this year that 3 matches plus is the magic number for cutting the undesirables out of my top 20. Undesirables such as Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, and The Miz, who all have in common participation in both the Men's Royal Rumble and WrestleMania's 6-team ladder match, both large multi-man matches which scored 4 stars each. Likewise, we'd see the new Bloodline's Tonga Loa, who despite being Solo's second recruit after Tama Tonga wasn't actually a legal competitor in a match until Survivor Series' men's WarGames, where all Tonga Loa really did was get hit by a toolbox a few times and hurt his arm. Same goes lastly for Ludwig Kaiser, whose 2 matches this year were the 4-star Men's Royal Rumble and 5-star Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat from Survivor Series, and while Ludwig Kaiser is good in the ring, I enjoy 0 aspects of his character. Now on to my actually honorable mentions. Coming in with 3 3/4 stars is Shinsuke Nakamura, who scored 4 stars from the Men's Royal Rumble and later returned after a hiatus to win the US title from LA Knight at Survivor Series in a 3.5-star effort. Him plus the dozen women who competed in this year's Women's Royal Rumble and never returned for a second match share the same score. Honorable mentions and at 4 stars are many, starting with a pool of folks who participated in the 4-star Men's Royal Rumble and or the 4-star 6-team WrestleMania ladder match, them being Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and R-Truth, while Lyra Valkyria achieved a 4-star average between her 3 1/4-star Queen of the Ring final and her part in the 4 3/4-star Women's Money in the Bank. Throw in the 6 remaining men who participated in their Royal Rumble only to never return again, and that rounds out our 4-star honorables. Next, scoring the odd 4.125 star is the team of Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, who competed together in a tag match at Elimination Chamber and again at the 6-team WrestleMania ladder match. Then Raquel Rodriguez, who had an up and down year both in the ring and out, coming in early at the 3.5-star Women's Elimination Chamber and ended late with the 4 3/4-star Women's WarGames. My final honorable mention goes to none other than Sheamus, whose one and only match this year was the 5-star Triple Threat Intercontinental title banger at Survivor Series. Crazy to see how far my opinion of his work has come, because if you told me 10 plus years ago when his feuds were against the likes of Big Show, Alberto Del Rio, and Roman Reigns, that in 2024, in the twilight of his career, he'd be a substantial part of a 5-star match, I'd be on the floor laughing at such an absurd idea. But ever since his run with Cesaro as the Bar, that was his turning point that started making me think, this Sheamus guy is actually pretty good. Sheamus definitely hasn't let his spinal stenosis stop him from putting on banger after banger in recent years, some 5 or so years after the news came out about his medical condition. Now on to my official top 20, starting with, of course, number 20, Rhea Ripley, who scored a 3 3/4-star average from 6 up and down matches where she defended her Women's World Championship a couple of times before her messy hit-or-miss feud against Liv Morgan, who sadly didn't make the cut from my list. There are a few more names that could be considered tied for 20th, as they share the same score, that being Randy Orton with 7 matches, most notably twice against Gunther, Zoe Stark with 3 matches, who was a standout in the Women's Money in the Bank, AJ Styles, who had 4 matches and flew all the way to Australia just to punk out LA Knight in the Elimination Chamber, and Piper Niven with 3 matches, who honestly deserves more. In the end, though, Rhea's my favorite of this bunch, so the official number 20 spot goes to her. Next in at 19 is Drew McIntyre, who was all over WWE this year for better or worse, his time card showing a 3.8-star score from 10 whole matches, the 3rd most this year, with a wide variety of stipulations. That number is a bit boosted from twice being involved in Money in the Bank cash-in situations, but I mean, let's think about it. Think of all of WWE's most famous multi-man gimmick matches and Drew McIntyre was there. Royal Rumble, Drew was in it. Elimination Chamber, Drew was in it. Money in the Bank ladder match, Drew was in it, won it, and cashed it in the same night to a resoundingly failed use of the Money in the Bank concept. Throw in his feud of the year against CM Punk, where they fought first in a special guest referee match featuring Seth Rollins, then a strap match, then ended with Hell in a Cell in October, and all that proves one thing: never doubt Drew McIntyre's ability to show up and overstay his welcome, if you feel the same way I do. Next at 18 is LA Knight, scoring 3.8 stars from 7 matches. My first 5-star score recipient, he redeemed a mid-first half of the year by stepping up his game greatly since winning the US Championship at SummerSlam. Coming in at 17 is Solo Sikoa, 3.8 stars from 6 matches. When The Rock's sidekick Roman Reigns dropped the WWE Championship to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and decided to leave on a journey for milk for a few months, Solo Sikoa kind of stumbled his way into new leader of the Bloodline and reformed it, kicking out Big Brother Jim and recruiting the feral and dangerous Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. Solo with his crew main evented a series of events post-Mania in tag matches against the likes of Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and then Roman Reigns and the Usos once Dad finally came back with the milk. Solo was never remarkable in any of his matches, but he was consistently fine enough to score 3.8 for 2024, solid enough to belong in the temporary main event spot he was given. In at 16 was Naomi with 3.8 stars from 6 matches. Naomi in her return year with WWE brought her glow to most likely every big multi-woman stipulation match, much like I mentioned about Drew McIntyre, being in the Royal Rumble where she returned, the Elimination Chamber, the Money in the Bank ladder match, and WarGames. Where there is opportunity, Naomi wants it. Next up at 15 is Tama Tonga with 3.8 stars again from 4 matches in his debut year with WWE. The first recruit to Solo Sikoa's new, more vicious bloodline, which became viewed kind of like how New Coke was received versus the original Coke now that I think of it. Tama Tonga was Solo's main attack dog at least until Jacob Fatu's edition, Tama serving as Solo's right hand through most of Bloodline's tag matches this year. As such, most of what I said about Solo Sikoa still applies here, and for everything else, why don't I just let Tama speak for himself? Next is Gunther with the slight edge of 3.82 star, his 8 matches putting him in 14th place this year. Starting 2024 as Intercontinental Champion before dropping it to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania, his time spent without gold was very short as he immediately transitioned to beating Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam, which he held into 2025. With only a dip or two in quality toward the end of the year especially, Gunther remained a solid Austrian wrestling machine. Gunther's crown jewel opponent and known story finisher next, Cody Rhodes takes number 13, averaging 3.875 star from 12 matches throughout the year. There were 14 premium live events in 2024, by the way, for the record. 12 is the highest match count of anyone, tied only with the lower scoring Damian Priest of all people, so way to go, Cody, I respect the grind. Of course, Cody had to overcome the Bloodline to finish his famed WWE Championship story, and neither Roman Reigns nor Solo Sikoa later on made it easy, Cody constantly performing solid enough against them and other challengers too in many 2024 main events to earn this place. Next at 12 is Shorty G Chad Gable with perhaps an undeservingly high 3.9 star average from his 3 inches, matches. Look, Chad's an incredibly technical wrestler when he's in his zone in the ring, but his heel character that developed from the spring of 2024 rubbed me in all the wrong ways, and I just want his cocky and brash jerk-assness to be gone. Let's watch him faceplant from out of the air at Money in the Bank again. Nia Jax makes it in just outside of the top 10, 3.9 star rating after 7 matches, and honestly, she deserves this. The in-ring improvement and newfound safety of Nia Jax since her late 2023 return has been so drastic that I'd swear she was a different person from that of her first run. I never thought I'd say this, but her winning the title of Queen of the Ring this year doesn't feel like a joke, and she carried that win to a dominating run as champion, beating Bayley at SummerSlam for the WWE Women's title. Leading us into my top 10 is Sami Zayn, 3.9 star from 8 matches. Sami's someone I've watched coming on 10 years now ever since NXT began airing on the WWE Network, and from there he's been a favorite of mine. Exceptional in the ring and even more so with portraying his character and telling a story. 2024 was a highlight year for him, beating Gunther at WrestleMania to win the Intercontinental title and losing it to Braun Breaker at SummerSlam with a few more solid defenses in between. Unfortunately, in at number 9, Logan Paul. I'll make this as quick as possible because I don't like giving this guy any amount of attention more often than I need to for these videos, but he averaged up to 3.95 star from 5 matches this year. The biggest tool to come from the world of YouTube, Logan's 5 matches saw him as US champ, even though not all of them were defenses. His loss to LA Knight at SummerSlam, earned my first 5-star score, and I can't deny that. He actually is uber athletic, and it's clear that when he shows up he takes this seriously, but I'm glad SummerSlam was the last we saw of him this year. Moving into 2025, he's since declared he's a full-time wrestler now, whatever that means, because how often he's shown up hasn't changed at all, but I take it to mean by now that he's committed to signing a long-term contract with WWE for whoever knows how long. Yay. The rest of my list will be human beings who actually have at least a little bit of my respect. Moving on to number 8, Finn Balor of the Judgment Day. Finn Balor himself I respect greatly for the history he has, but Finn Balor in the Judgment Day I've got no respect for, so how I feel about him now is somewhere in the middle. This year he averaged an even 4-star out of 5 matches where, aside from the Royal Rumble, he either teamed with Damian Priest or feuded against him afterward. He definitely seems to be winding down his career by this point, but let's hope he still has a few more good years in him, ideally after leaving all the Judgment Day BS behind him. It's Tiffy time for Tiffany Stratton to take spot number 7 on my list, the buff Barbie tying the previous Finn Balor in numbers with a 4-star average from her 5 matches. And also, now that I'm reviewing what she was in, I see now she was in every match Naomi was, coincidentally, Naomi having just one more match without Tiffany there. However, Naomi's dysfunctional WrestleMania appearance hurt her more than Tiffany's lack of the WrestleMania match this year, as their respective spots in my top 20 shows. Tiffany in her first year up from NXT, proving why she belongs in every chaotic multi-woman match she was in, from swantoning off of Elimination Chamber pods and WarGames cages, to winning the Women's Money in the Bank and cashing in on Nia Jax successfully just after the change of the year on January 3rd. Spot number 7, and she still has her whole career ahead of her pretty much. Next up is another newcomer from NXT in 2024, Carmelo Hayes, first-round draft pick for SmackDown this year, just making the cut with 3 matches, averaging 4 stars. After a pre-call-up Royal Rumble appearance, he and Andrade were the highlight of the men's Money in the Bank, putting on an ensuing rivalry that led to them both challenging LA Knight for his US Championship in the match of the night at Crown Jewel. A low-key assassin in the ring, which at least partially lives up to how cocky his character carries himself. Let's hope his debut year wasn't also his peak, as lately he's been plummeting into the depths of the SmackDown mid-card, where folks tend to end up where they're in danger of WWE's chopping block. Which would be a shame, as it is for most people, but Melo in particular has a look worth millions and an in-ring ability to give him a limitless ceiling in this wrestling business, I think. Time will tell where he's at this time next year. Into my top 5 now, so we're almost done. Bayley brings us into my top 5, her 7 matches this year averaging up to 4.1 star. Winning the Women's Royal Rumble and beating a heel Io Sky in an incredible Women's Championship match at WrestleMania, this was a career year for Bayley as she defended the title off until losing to Nia Jax at SummerSlam. Only one match of hers this year scored lower than 4 stars, not including her Royal Rumble win, which is incredible. 5 might just be the highest amount of 4-star plus matches this year from anyone, the only exception there being Cody Rhodes, who almost doubled Bayley's match count, so Bayley can't really help that. On to the woman Bayley faced at WrestleMania and my highest ranked female superstar of the year, Io Sky takes 4th place overall, scoring 4.15 star from 5 matches. The new head of Damage Control after kicking Bayley out following Bayley's Royal Rumble win, Io Sky began her year on my scoreboard with her banger of a failed title defense against Bayley at WrestleMania and spent the rest of 2024 kicking ass as only she can in a wide variety of battlegrounds, from the WarGames cage to Money in the Bank to a 4-team tag match in Saudi Arabia to giving Liv Morgan the best singles title defense of her World Women's title reign. Io is so fun to watch and I can't wait to see where she goes from here. Earning my 3rd place bronze medal of 2024, Big Bronson Reed's push up the card this year saw him earn a 4.18 star average from 4 matches, and unfortunately a rolled ankle resulting in a broken foot at WarGames for his troubles, an injury he's yet to return from at time of writing. Elsewhere saw him in this year's Royal Rumble and later challenging for Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title in the spring before going full kaiju mode and making a victim out of Seth Rollins by destroying him with a ridiculous amount of tsunami splashes en route to their colossal singles match at Crown Jewel. The last we saw of Bronson, he was lending a hand to the Bloodline boys as something of a hired gun when Solo needed a fifth man for WarGames, so whenever he does return, I'm interested in seeing if he returns to that or goes back to being a singles guy, goes back to Solo or goes back to being Solo, if you will. From one Bronson to another, second place with the silver is Braun Breaker, up from NXT this year like many others on this list with 4 matches, landing a 4.2 star average, and my god, this dog is a freak of nature. Arr! When I first heard of this guy joining NXT, I was highly skeptical of him being of any value considering he came from a real sports background like most mid-wrestlers before him who get in on being an athlete but are just a black hole of personality. He's the son of Rick Steiner and nephew of the genetic freak Big Papa Pump, Big Bad Booty Daddy Scott Steiner, and by that math he had 66 2/3 chance of his WWE career drastic going down, and even more so when WWE decided to pivot away from naming him Rex Steiner and seemingly consulted with their elementary school naming department to come up with Braun Breaker instead. This man overcame all of what would cripple the career of any other man by getting over being just the most coked up madman he could possibly be. He's insanely powerful and insanely fast, breaking 20 miles an hour when he's running the ropes to deliver either a spear or a clothesline. He's not afraid to fling himself around for dives to the outside or his leap up top rope Frankensteiner. And all this said before I even begin running through the matches he had this year. After a standout moment in the Royal Rumble pre-NXT call-up, he failed at his first shot at Sami Zayn's Intercontinental title heading into the summer before capturing it on the second try at SummerSlam in little more than a 5-minute squash match. Later in the fall, Braun Breaker had the largest contribution in earning his triple threat Intercontinental title defense against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser at Survivor Series, a 5-star score, my second of only 2 5-star scores awarded this year. If this man's earning a 5-star score in only his first year on WWE's main roster, I can't wait to see what crazy thing he does next. Oh! Only one spot is left now, and that's first place. Gold medal goes to my man, my boy, my dog, CM Punk. I could credit this man for getting me back into wrestling to the degree I did single-handedly back in 2010 after losing touch with it for a couple of years in the late 2000s starting high school, so I couldn't have been happier when he returned home at the end of 2023 after almost 10 years away. Now that the toxic and abusive management of the likes of Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis are gone for good, CM Punk seems to have made it his mission in 2024 to remind everyone why not only does he call himself the best in the world, but why so many people like myself agree with it. Earning an average of 4.3 stars from 5 matches this year despite spending half of it injured after a fluke accident in the Royal Rumble, his bitter war against Drew McIntyre was the feud of 2024, with every interaction between them being must-see, exciting fun. While their first match at SummerSlam with special ref Seth Rollins didn't quite live up to its potential, Drew and Punk went on to deliver the best Hell in a Cell match in recent memory to end their feud, plus the best touch the four corners strap match I've ever seen on the way there. Punk would then end his comeback year playing a crucial part on Roman Reigns' WarGames team despite having no history with either side of the Bloodline Civil War till then, agreeing to be Roman's 5th man on the team as a favor to Paul Heyman, Punk making it clear after the fact he'd be expecting a favor in return later on down the road. But more on that soon, as next time we'll be taking a look at the first few shows of 2025, closing the books now on WWE's 2024 in the world of wrestling. Wow, we finally reached the end of my first part playing catch up with my WWE reviews many months later as I aim to really start picking up the pace with these and making it back up to current day, which at time of writing we're just a few days past Backlash from May 10th, 2025, at time of writing. If you've listened through all of this and are still here with me now, thank you so much for your time and allowing me and my words to entertain you. My vow for this channel, as I stated before getting into December 2024's Saturday night's main event, is to make these reviews much more abridged with my writing and getting more to the point of ranking and reviewing the matches, cutting out as much filler and play-by-play action as I can, because my goal is to take no more than 2 weeks per show to create this content moving forward. Hopefully by speeding up my reviewing process, I can not only catch back up to current time WWE as quick as I can, so my future reviews don't come out being already horribly outdated, but so hopefully in a few more months' time, definitely before the year of 2025 ends, because Jesus Christ, we're already halfway through it almost, I can finally have more time to work on other projects here like video game playthroughs and storytelling narrations, key interests that when I founded my channel and its identity, I very much intended to be equal parts of it along with my WWE content. I hope you all stick around with me to see what comes next. In the immediate future, my plan is to take on the next 3 shows from WWE at the start of 2025, that being another Saturday night's main event already in January, as WWE reportedly wants to do 4 of these a year moving forward, the 2025 Royal Rumble on February 1st, like a week after, and then Elimination Chamber on March 1st, the 3 2025 WWE shows which led up to WrestleMania 41. I better get on to it and try to keep myself on track and on schedule if I have any hope of catching up with these, so I hope you all stay tuned in, and I hope you all connect with the things you love in this world as strongly as I do. I'm here on YouTube sharing what I can about what I love, because life is love and love is life. Make lessons out of losses and keep your future in sight. That's what I'm all about here. This is Flying Farron signing off, thanking you all for listening. Take care out there, and have a good one.